start streaming now.
Meow. Right now.
Text Kristen. She's like, when are you going live? I don't know, 20 minutes. She's like, I never see the beginning. So, all right, I'm just going to text her right now. We've started streaming. The chat's probably going to be pretty low today. A lot of people said they weren't going to be able to make it.
It's all good.
For reasons. But this way we can get a more distraction-free review out there anyway. You know? Oh, God. Problem?
They're back in my house.
Who's they?
Catherine and her family, they're like, oh, Emily said we're supposed to give gifts immediately, so now we're giving gifts even though nothing is wrapped and I can't find Jillian's. So instead of doing what I want to do right now, I'm looking for stupid presents to give. I'm gonna like throw it at her and be like, Merry Christmas.
They don't watch the stream, do they?
I don't know.
Well, we're live right now, so.
I don't even care. I don't even care.
It's good stuff. Life in the Roscom household. Big lovin', my man.
My man. Why does it do that? Why does it
So,
just come
I mean,
up with the
we've got a lot to get through. I have no intention of covering the movie beat by beat. That's why I did just the different bullet points. Focusing on specific details like Palpatine's return, how they handled Carrie Fisher, some of the different character story arcs.
Right.
But yeah, I do have a very long rant about the negativity out there.
Let me do my my critics rant first.
Okay, yeah, go for it. And it's your toast. Obviously, you know yours already.
Yep.
Okay. Shit, man. We ready to roll with this?
I think we're ready. I think we are ready.
All right.
Are you ready?
It sounded more like sloth. Like, hey, you guys.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was going for.
Okay. All right. Oh, we got Tevin. What is up, my man?
What's up, Tevin? I'm sure the weather's a lot. Well, the weather's not too bad here today.
Yeah, could be a lot worse. And it's been fucking cold. Goddamn, the night of the fucking movie.
Jesus Christ, it was cold.
All right. We good?
He's got his popcorn ready.
All right. If you're good, then we'll do 30 seconds of silence starting. We'll just again check the sound.
Started the audio recording.
Yes. Starting now. All right, hang on. Finish typing. I completely forgot to turn off this heater, so it's going to mess up the 30 seconds of silence.
Friggin' airplane flying by, too. I mean,
yeah, that didn't help. So, all right. Let's try this again. 30 seconds of silence starting now.
To JJ.
To JJ. He fucking did it, man.
Yeah, he did.
He stuck the landing. It may not have been a perfect 10. I'd give it at least a 9, but he fucking stuck the landing. Good job, JJ. Holy shit. Have we got an episode today?
Yeah, man.
And to get it started off, hello everyone, and welcome back to All Things Star Wars, the greatest Star Wars podcast in the galaxy. I'm Mr. Jason Roscom. With me here each and every single week, the Darth Vader to my resurrected Palpatine, Dave Martin. Hello, Dave.
Hello, Jason.
How are you?
I am just content. I'll use the word content.
Okay.
Because of how poorly it could have went.
Right.
How sad and just utterly destroyed we could have been after this movie. And we're not.
Yeah.
And it's great.
Yeah. It's such a stark difference from the way I left the theater after seeing The Last Jedi.
Oh, God, yeah.
I mean, and we can get into it as we get along, but we've got a lot more stuff to get to. But yeah, we saw The Rise of Skywalker. This is our spoiler-filled review. We'll let you guys know when we actually start getting into deeper spoilers. But, you know, we've got our typical
overview
and our week and some other stuff. So we'll get there. You'll know when we start talking about spoilers. But in the meantime, first I want to give a big shout out to all of our patrons, everybody who supports the All Things Star Wars podcast: Tony Ferrari, Camille Donovan, Nick Jackson, Frederick Martin, Big Lovin', Scott Rasmussen, Tactical Swede, Don Solsky, and of course Shotgun Mark. Thank you, everyone. You are the reason why we do this. Ugh. You guys are the best. We love you. And if you want to continue to support the All Things Star Wars podcast, go to patreon.com/ATSW podcast and support us in any way you can. Every bit of money that we collect on Patreon just goes right back here into the show. The last big purchase we made were these headphones that we're going to be using hopefully soon. We've done the test on the Skype call-ins, right, and it works. So probably not next week now because we are going to have an in-studio guest more than likely. But okay. But yeah, hopefully 2 weeks from now, we can start getting some calling guests, get your guys' opinions on The Rise of Skywalker, The Mandalorian, or whatever we're talking about. So stay tuned for that. We're going to start opening it up for call-ins very, very soon.
Very soon.
And what else do we have to pimp today?
Oh, we got to pimp out Podbelly.
Yeah.
After Jason's excursion out to California and seeing the studio where the Podbelly podcast... They're going to have their own podcast, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So it'll be a Podbelly podcast talking about podcasts.
Yes.
So it's like the inception of podcasts. Podception. And obviously, the greatest podcast in the galaxy is front and center on podbelly.com, along with...
Goddamn right.
Other podcasts like The Sofa Kings and Hillbilly Horror Stories and Nerds on Topic. Podcasts we listen to, all kinds of good stuff.
Which I'd bet at least the Nerds on Topic are probably also going to be reviewing Rise of Skywalker.
I would imagine they have to be.
Yeah.
So if you're looking for new podcasts, go to podbelly.com, search those guys out, leave them a good review, and let them know that the All Things Star Wars podcast sent you.
Goddamn right.
Speaking of reviews.
Yes.
We have a couple of new 5-star reviews.
Oh, we do?
We do.
Nice.
So, and most likely thanks to my wife, who is way better at pimping the podcast, our own podcast, than I am.
Yep.
For sure. Should I go ahead and read it?
Do it.
All right. So, from Torment M, gave us 5 stars.
Thank you.
And I got to read this verbatim. Whip, stir, mash, stir, mash, stir, mash, whip, stir, whip, whip, stir, mash, stir, mash, 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 whip, stir, mash, whip, stir, mash, stir, mash, whip, whip,
the dedication is real.
Stir, mash, mash, whip, stir, mash, stir, mash, whip, stir, mash, stir, mash, whip, stir. So thank you for the 5-star review and making me say all that, because keep telling people, if you leave us a 5-star review or any review, we will read it.
Verbatim.
Yes.
Even when we get ridiculous shit like that.
Yes. And I can only imagine who Torment M is.
Yeah. Probably Torment Martin.
Yeah, probably.
They probably did that just for you.
And also from Mead's family, who I believe may be a coworker of mine.
Yeah.
He says, Dave's wife is wonderful, which is fact.
Yep.
And also say that we want a murder in the Star Wars universe episode. Bonus if it's a serial killer and he eats people or Wookiees.
Ooh, I bet there's all kinds of serial killers in the Star Wars universe. Outside of the typical Empire First Order people.
Yeah, the normal people that...
they do mass murder.
Let's see.
But we'll get into that later.
Yeah. I was just looking... Yeah, we have one-star review, and we read it a couple years ago.
Yeah. Fuck that guy. But hey,
the guy that was like, but they didn't like it or understand The Last Jedi.
And this fucking pussy probably hates Rise of Skywalker. He's probably one of these people who's like, he don't did everything The Last Jedi did. Fuck off. All right.
We'll get to that.
Yeah.
We'll definitely get to that.
So, anyway. So, we good with the reviews?
Yeah, that was it. 2 new reviews. Thank you. Please subscribe to us on YouTube. I think we may have a couple new YouTube subscriptions, too, based on the holiday party I was at last night. Again, my wonderful wife pimping the podcast better than I can. So we'll have to look for that.
Indeed. So, one other thing that we need to get to before we get into more of the Star Warsy stuff is our All Things Star Wars Fantasy Football Finals is this weekend.
Yeah.
It's Robert Gibson versus Keith Lehman in the finals. Keith Lehman, local guy. Robert Gibson, longtime listener. Big time shit talker.
Yeah, oh yeah.
So, yeah, they're battling it out in the finals, and I promised Robert, and I'll extend this to Keith as well. If whoever wins can come on the pod, talk about their season, and gloat all they want.
Yep.
So
and talk Star Wars, obviously.
Right. So we'll update you guys with the results next week. I haven't looked at the fantasy football stuff today, so I don't know how their games are going.
You know what? I haven't either. I'm in a championship round in another league.
Oh, yeah?
So
Nice.
I should do okay, even with Derrick Henry going out today. Which,
Yeah.
oh, by the way, make sure you fucking... it's too late, probably. If you didn't already bench Derrick Henry for your championship game, then you should have, because he's out.
Yeah.
So...
All right, enough football. We got lots of other shit to get to, so let's try to bang through.
And we got to get it done before the fucking Eagles-Cowboys game.
Yes, which is in 2.5 hours, so we got to go. Our week, real quick, yesterday was apparently my birthday. I'm now older than dirt.
Happy birthday,
Thank
Jason.
you, I appreciate it. I got a couple of Star Wars-related gifts that I think are going to go over pretty well here on the show from my lovely wife, Kristen, who I love very much. The first thing she got me is this Star Wars Black Series Collector Mystery Box.
Ooh.
So...
Have you opened it yet?
I have opened it.
Okay.
So she wanted me to open it yesterday. But inside, so as soon as you open it, you see this comic book, Star Wars Allegiance, which is apparently a countdown to Rise of Skywalker. Didn't even know it existed.
No.
Got a snowtrooper on the front.
Yeah.
Pretty thick comic, too, if you look at it. And then it's also got, as a Black Series figure... a First Order Elite Snowtrooper. Not to be confused with the other Snowtrooper that I have.
Right.
And this is going to go right there.
Awesome.
Yep. And then, of course, the comic goes along with it.
Right.
Also...
It's got an E11 blaster, got some TIE fighters in the background with a Star Destroyer.
Came with a pretty badass beanie with the new Sith logo on it.
Wow. The Final Order.
The Final Order.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Good material.
But based off of some happenings in the Rise of Skywalker, I guess this symbol is, an old Sith symbol that was retconned from the old Sith symbol that we used to know. This is the new one with the triangular thing, because remember when 3PO was like, oh, that Speeda has an old Sith symbol on it. Spoiler alert. So, yeah, good shit. And, yeah, I want to read that comic, too. I have no idea what it's about.
Well, there's a good scroll in the beginning of it, so you'd be able to get a good overview from that.
Yep, and I love the beanie.
Very cool.
I needed a new beanie for this cold fucking weather we've been having lately.
Yeah, Look, it's been advanced cold, and it fucking sucks. Today, thankfully, it was warm enough where, you could actually be outside without fucking your mucklucks on, but...
Now, even more important than that gift was another gift that she got me. So, let's see... if you can recognize this.
It's a Chewbacca Bop It.
Twist it. Pull it. Pull it. Bop it. Twist it. Pull it. Bop it. Twist it. Pull it. Bop it.
So, I don't know if you remember, we talked about this.
We did.
For Force Friday. This was one of the many different things that they announced for the Force Friday.
That's fucking
the Chewbacca
great.
Bop It. Kristen picked up on that. She went out. She found me the Chewbacca Bop It. Holy shit, this thing is fucking hilarious.
So now we have a Chewbacca Bop It to go along with our Darth Vader Simon.
Yes. Yes. Oh, wait, hold on. Let's see if we can hear the high score.
Bop it to start. High score, 69. Bop it.
All right, we'll just put him right there for now.
Chewie, don't let me down.
So,
funny.
yeah, that's the Chewbacca Bop It. Those are the two gifts that I got for my birthday yesterday. Good shit.
That is fantastic.
The only other note I have in here is this coming work week is going to... okay, we got it. Yeah, this upcoming work week is going to be fucking weird because we had already been scheduled to have Wednesday off for Christmas.
Right.
Merry Christmas, by the way, everybody who's listening to this.
Yeah. And Happy Hanukkah.
Yes.
It's today's start of Hanukkah.
See.
3PO. And the solstice just passed.
That's
which
right.
is your birthday, right?
Indeed.
It's a
Yep.
solstice. So.
Typically. So it doesn't always fall on my birthday. Sometimes it can fall like a day ahead or behind.
Right.
But yeah. So the solstice.
So whatever you celebrate, have a good one.
Yes. And we also have our every other Friday off. So
You would do it.
So we were originally scheduled to have Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday as work days next week. Well, I guess as a way to keep good favor with the people, El Presidente made Christmas Eve a federal holiday as well.
Right.
So now we have Christmas Eve off. So now I work Monday and Thursday next week. It's fucking weird.
And I work Monday and Friday because Wednesday, federal holiday, Christmas, federal holiday. Thursday is the AMC down day. It's the AMC family day. So while you guys are at work, the rest of the base is going to be closed. So good luck getting anything done if you're trying to be doing anything on base. It's max leave anyway. So
it wasn't
whatever.
going to be a very productive day
Right.
at work either
So
way.
and then so I work Monday and Friday next week. And technically, I'm going to telework on the AMC family day, but it's really tough to be a contractor in a unit that's closed.
Yeah. But you are driving into work on Friday?
I will be driving into work on Friday.
All right. Because I do have tickets for Rise of Skywalker on Friday morning, but I guess you...
What time?
8 o'clock.
Well, we will discuss. We'll definitely discuss.
I'm not going to get into any other stuff for my week, as we've got a shitload of stuff to talk about Rise of Skywalker wise. So why don't you knock out your week real quick?
So my week, we just talked about it with the weird work week. We had our lodge's Christmas party last night, so I was up a little late. If I sound a little scratchy, did not. What's really funny is I don't have to. At this advanced age, you know, as Big Swede was telling you, look how old you've become.
Yes. Great meme, by the way.
I had, just a little bit of bourbon to drink. So it wasn't necessarily the fact that I was drinking. It was the fact that I was up past midnight. Mm-hmm. You get up past midnight at these advanced ages, and the next day, regardless of whether you drank or not, you feel like a fucking bag of smashed assholes. Mm-hmm. So I slept in this morning, and I always feel worse when I sleep in, so I'm I'm just dragging my ass today.
Yeah, so for some context, I texted Dave at 8 this morning. I'm like, hey, I noticed the Eagles are playing at 4:30. What do you want to do about recording time? Didn't hear from him for over 2 hours.
Yeah.
Finally get a text from him after 10 o'clock. He's like, oh, I'm just getting out of bed. I'm like, whoa.
Yeah. Well, actually, I was getting out of the shower, but that was, basically part of my wake routine.
Yeah.
Zombies stumble into the fucking bathroom and get rinsed from whatever. But so obviously we saw Rise of Skywalker.
Yes.
And then I got super super busy. So we were supposed to go yesterday on your birthday.
Yep.
At it was like a 3:30 showing or something like that.
Yeah.
And I woke up yesterday morning with I'm gonna wake up. Got to go to the lodge, and we do these. We put these Christmas baskets together to feed needy families. We get to do this whole thing. It's really nice thing the lodge does. So I had that first thing in the morning, and then I was like, all right, Kathy's working, so I'm just gonna work in the lodge and do secretary Empire stuff, right? Mm-hmm. Next thing I know, I was supposed to be somewhere at 1:30 in a suit for the last installation of the season. Mm-hmm. Then I look at my watch; it's 2:00. Because I've been working in the lodge that whole time.
Oh.
So I'm like, fuck. Oh, well, just finish up what I'm doing here. And then to make the timing come out of the movie and go to the party, I would have never made it. I would have never made it to because we had Kathy did a bunch of baskets for the party last night, for fundraising, and we had all this setup stuff. There's
So it
no
was something
way.
you had to make.
Yeah, it wasn't something I could just be like, I could show up an hour late. It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
Nah, it just wasn't going to happen. So, unfortunately, as we're going to talk about later, as many times watch it, I've only seen the movie once.
Oof.
I had my opportunity to see it yesterday. Obviously, you provided the opportunity. Because I was so fucking busy,
Yeah.
I just haven't been able to do it.
Life happens. And, I mean, the beauty of it is it's going to be out for another month at least.
Did you go yesterday?
No.
Okay.
So I guess we can roll right into this discussion, too.
Yeah.
So we saw it Thursday night, obviously. Right. We saw it at 10:45 Thursday evening. It was you, me, Kristen, and frequent guest, the John.
Right.
Fucking freezing that night. But, yeah, we met at the theater. Good seats. I would have preferred maybe 1 or 2 more rows back, but
Yeah.
I mean, overall, we were in the center.
It was dead in the center. First time John had been in like a theater with the reclining seats,
which blows my mind because this is not a new concept at this point. This has been around for a while.
No, but he doesn't get out to a lot of movies though.
Yeah.
Like and this handful that he has been to, like you can go and eat and drink at these things.
Yeah.
So he chooses to have a different theater experience, but. Yeah, so that was his first time in the recliners.
Yep.
So with the reclining, it was right in front of us.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So it was a good viewing.
Yeah, but I mean, unfortunately, when we bought these tickets in October, like all the other rows were already taken,
Right.
so that was the farthest back I could get us.
So funny addendum to that. So unfortunately, Kathy wasn't feeling well that night. Kathy and my daughter Caitlin, who's attended Force Awakens and The Last Jedi with us.
Yep, she was also there for Solo, I think, too, right?
I think she was.
Yeah.
So, and we didn't like include them in like the ticket purchase. Like when we were doing it pre-show and Jason was buying all the tickets up, it's not something we included. So it's like, whatever. And so it came up like 3-4 days before the showing.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, well, we want to go now. Like, all right, good luck.
Yeah.
So they were able to buy tickets, but they bought them for the handicap row, which, by the way, those seats would have been fucking brilliant.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
you had all the elbow room and leg room in the fucking world.
Mm-hmm.
And the only caveat to that is if somebody came with a wheelchair or whatever, then you'd have to move.
Sure.
So they were able to buy seats. Unfortunately, Kathy wasn't feeling well, so they ended up, going, we're going to watch it. I'm going to take her to it later.
Yeah.
But it was just funny, like, because back in October, that shit slammed itself full.
Yeah.
And I actually heard from people around, depending on which showing, like Big Swede, who's in the chat right now, he went to his local theater and he was able, I think, but he went at like 1 a.m.
Oh, damn.
Like, so he went.
So like one Friday morning, essentially?
Right, exactly.
Okay.
So, and he went by himself. I'm not sure, we haven't talked about it, how many other times he's seen it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so what's really funny about that whole thing is watching the podcast fan base in the cantina, like who's watching it at one time. Guys are posting selfies for the thing. Really, really fun.
Mm-hmm. And so we finished that showing. God, we got out at what, 2:00 in the morning, something like that.
Yeah.
Kristen and I had to rush home, get right into bed because we had another showing at 8 a.m. the next morning. We promised, with us and our 3 kids, and we promised the boys that we'd take them to breakfast that next morning. So essentially, I had to get up at 5:30 that next morning. So I got 3 hours sleep. I started waking Kristen up a little after 6. And we just got in the car, went to breakfast. We went to the Cherry Hill Diner. Great diner, by the way. First time I'd ever been to this one. Mm-hmm. It was, on Route 38, there's the circle right there, right before you get to the Cherry Hill Mall. Uh-huh. There's a diner on that circle. Great diner. Fucking fantastic service. Food got there really quick. Couldn't have been happier with the experience because we were going to go to IHOP, the IHOP there next to the Cherry Hill Mall. They were fucking closed. They didn't open until 7 in the morning. I'm like, what kind of place that serves fucking breakfast doesn't open until 7 goddamn a.m.?
To be honest, in this area, like especially in New Jersey, like southern New Jersey, because the diners are so prolific, it's amazing that an IHOP can even stay open.
Right. Well,
all.
The fact that they would hinder themselves by opening late, like 7 a.m. for a place that serves fucking breakfast is fucking late. I'm sorry. That's unacceptable to me. So we had to
especially
audible.
during a weekday.
Yeah, it was Friday morning.
That's weird.
During the Christmas fucking season, too, I might add.
Yeah, and that IHOP is right on. It's basically on the mall property, too. So
Yeah.
Weird.
So we had to Audible. We went to that diner. Good experience overall. The boys were happy. Then we caught the movie at 8 a.m. Were you going to say something?
No.
Oh, okay. And we'll talk about the boys' reaction. And then I had the 2 tickets for yesterday for my birthday. So you had to cancel the afternoon one. Nobody else wanted to go with me to either showing, so I just refunded both showings. So I've only seen it the 2 times.
Okay.
So, but I did buy tickets for, like I said, next Friday morning, and I'm probably going to buy some more too because I want to see it as many times as I can in theaters.
Yeah,
That's feasible.
I think I want to definitely see it in that RPX theater.
Oh, the RPX was good too.
Because I felt like the sound was lacking in that Marlton theater.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I'm like, can you turn up the volume a little bit?
Yeah, was underwhelmed by, like, because I knew that the sound was supposed to be bigger.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
And
that RPX or that showing we saw on Thursday night was just a vanilla, no 3D, no IMAX, no nothing.
Yeah.
Usually we go to like the IMAX showing in Cherry Hill for our first one.
And we decided that they didn't even have it, right? Or they weren't selling tickets that first day?
Yeah, when we were looking for tickets in October, none of it had become open yet.
Yeah.
So
that could be an option too for down the line if they are showing it on the IMAX.
Yeah,
that could be a fun thing. But yeah, so I've only seen it the 2 times. And I will say the RPX was really good. It wasn't like overpowering because I think when the RPX first started, they weren't quite sure where they wanted their volume levels. Because I know the time I took you the very first time.
Holy fuck, dude!
Yeah, and it I thought your brain was gonna explode. It was so loud.
That was uncomfortably loud. But then when we went and saw The Last Jedi in the RPX.
It was better.
It was better.
They figured out the levels, and it's the same thing with Rise of Skywalker. They figured out the levels to where it's not like, blowing your fucking eardrums out, but it's still louder than a normal theater, and it's got the subwoofers under each seat to make your seat fucking rumble for a lot of the.
And I think that's where I either want to see that IMAX or the RPX next. Kathy wants to see it. If we're talking about initial impressions, the like non-spoilers.
Mm-hmm.
I know my wife is super into the Rey character.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's why she liked The Force Awakens. Wasn't so much into The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
But because of the Rey focus in this movie, I think she'll really like it.
Yeah, I'm sure she'd love it.
So she's looking forward to seeing it. It's just a matter of as things slow down into the holiday season, getting in there and doing it.
Yep. So all right. So while we're talking non-spoiler. I think it's pretty clear that Dave and I fucking love this movie. Like, at least I did. Mm-hmm. Like, I will go out on a limb and say I fucking loved this movie. My initial impressions were, I think it's the best of this new trilogy. I mean, and don't get me wrong, I really love The Force Awakens, but initial thoughts, I'm going to have to see this a few more times to really know. And I want to watch the entire trilogy like in a row. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I feel like it's the best in the trilogy. I feel like it made The Last Jedi better. I think some of the things that happen in this, especially with what little we saw of Luke, spoiler alert, I think it's made some of the decisions that were made for Last Jedi better. Nothing can forgive the pointless Canto Bight sequence, but the rest of it, I think, makes some good sense in the whole of the story.
Mm-hmm.
Kristen absolutely loved it. All 3 of the boys absolutely loved it. So, and this is one thing I got to say, and this is a great segue into our next bullet point. Everybody that I've talked to, like every human being that I actually know, either through the podcast or in real life, they've all thoroughly enjoyed this movie.
Right.
I have not heard somebody that I know say a negative thing about this. I mean, there have been little criticisms here and there, but overall impressions thoroughly enjoy this film.
Right.
Which you wouldn't believe that if all you did was went on the internet, read some fucking critic reviews, and watched all these fucking YouTubers out there. Because I'm starting to notice that there seems to be a very big agenda when it comes to fucking Star Wars. It doesn't matter what your point of view is. Large groups of people out on the internet have an agenda one way or the other, and they want it to, and it feels like they want to see Star Wars fail for one reason or another.
Right.
Because it doesn't fit perfectly into their worldview, whatever that may be. And I think it started with The Last Jedi. You know, a lot of people were critical of it. I mean, hell, I was too. But a lot of people sort of made their brand based off of their just constant criticisms of The Last Jedi and even The Force Awakens.
Well, that's definitely a valid, the brand. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think people are trying to keep that going with Rise of Skywalker, and they're trying to find reasons to tear it down because, again, they are not real Star Wars fans, ultimately, is what it boils down to. These fucking critics, oh God. I don't know if you're familiar with Vox, the website Vox.
No.
Well, it's fucking cancer. And this fucking broad on there wrote this scathing review of Rise of Skywalker, and I want to just reach through my computer monitor and smack the shit out of her. But these people aren't real fucking Star Wars fans, is what it boils down to. And I think Big Swede posted something online like after he saw it, and it was like,
"Oh, the change my mind meme."
No.
Oh.
Well, yeah. I guess it was, but I think it was an extension of just like his initial impressions, and it was, if you don't like The Rise of Skywalker, then you don't like Star Wars. And I think that's ultimately what it boils down to.
Yeah.
And I think the people that are picking it apart now were never true Star Wars fans the way we've always been. And I think, again, people are just trying to take it down for the purpose of trashing Star Wars one way or the other. And you know what? Fuck all those people. Because this movie, it has its flaws, I admit. But overall, it was great for those of us who actually love Star Wars.
The other thing that Big Sweet had posted that gives you a really good glimpse, and even he had said it, it's like, okay, this is how I know I'm going to like this movie, is because the critics don't like it.
Right.
Like, the critic reviews, like the Metacritic was like, in the 40s.
Yeah.
Whereas the audience reviews was in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Exactly the opposite for fucking The Last Jedi.
Yep.
Why? Why is that? Well, because they saw The Last Jedi as furthering an agenda that they support.
Right.
And those same people look at the Rise of Skywalker and go like, look at J.J. Abrams and go like, you just destroyed the progress that Last Jedi made. Which, guess what? It's a fucking movie, people.
Mm-hmm.
It is a fucking movie. And yes, we pour our heart and soul into this movie, into this franchise, but it's a movie.
Yeah.
It is not a vessel to fucking further an agenda with a space opera.
Yeah.
Do that with a fucking documentary. Do that with, talk about real issues and real things that have happened in real life. Don't try and use a fucking space opera to further your agenda and then get upset with it when it reverts, because guess what? It's a movie that fans have loved for 40 plus years, and like, we're going to make a movie that fucking caters to these fans.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
that's
don't be
exactly
upset
what
by
this
that.
was.
You can go fuck yourself if you're going to be so upset with Star Wars. And there are I know people that said that they didn't like this movie, and I have to personally interview them to really find out why.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't really give a fuck if they like it or not. Really, what it comes down to is I have my opinion of the movie. I enjoyed it.
Yep.
I think a lot of things that were done in there were very creative. The critics that are out there saying that this movie was unimaginative, I don't know what movie they fucking watched.
Yeah,
I don't
no
know what
fucking clue.
Star Wars they've ever watched. All I know is if they're just basing only Star Wars I like is The Last Jedi, if that's your point of view, and there's plenty of people out there.
Mm-hmm.
There are the people that are like, well, it's the original trilogy, and this. I know people that are saying this is like one of the worst movies. They're saying this is worse than the prequel. I'm like,
Yeah.
how the fuck do you say that?
Yeah,
If you really feel that, if you were so into the message of The Last Jedi that now anything that comes out of the Star Wars universe has to have that same filter, that's a shame.
Yeah.
It's a shame that fucking Rian Johnson had to poison this franchise with that big of a message.
Mm-hmm.
And again, really what it comes down to is you have a fan base that is all over the internet.
Yep.
People that have grew up with this franchise are fully ensconced in the internet and reviewing and doing things like that, collecting fucking toys. Oh my god!
Mm-hmm.
All right, we do this because we love it. We look
Yeah.
at these things and we say this is something that is in the core of my personality and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
If you're watching it for some fucking politicized message and you're upset with, I'd love to hear the feminazis that are out there that like loved Haldo and all this other shit, and they're saying that this movie was unimaginative, which I've read in several reviews.
Really?
And it's like, okay, so you have a female character who goes and sacrifices herself, like with purple hair, and this is like, oh wow, that is groundbreaking.
It's so brave.
Yeah. And then, but you have the main character of this fucking movie. The main character for the past, even Last Jedi, was fucking Princess Leia. I mean, it's between Princess Leia and Rey.
Yeah.
Like, Rey has been the focal point of all three of these fucking movies. And if you can't understand that, if you can't appreciate that from a storytelling perspective, for what we've gotten in this saga, you're not going to, then you fucking eat your food through your asshole. Yeah. Because that's the only way you can intake anything. And you don't know how to intake anything that's reasonably good. Case in point, the fucking going into the theater for Last Jedi for us, we spent a lot of time in analysis and breaking shit down for the podcast and really getting ourselves in a froth for what we thought was going to happen. We had completely bought into this is what we think is going to happen and came away disappointed. Subsequent viewings, it got better because we started looking at it as a Star Wars story, not as, hey, they're not doing the things we expected them to do.
Sure.
I agree with you, though. There were certain scenes in there that just didn't need to be told.
Yeah.
Now we sit down for Rise of Skywalker with, I mean, listen back to the podcast. We didn't do a lot of analysis of what we thought was going to happen in this movie. And I thought that was perfect. Yeah. Because I sat down there, my expectations were like, I am just going to enjoy what they present to us. And it was great. Yeah. And it was fucking great. And they did a great fucking job.
Yeah, and you talk about the people who are, I guess, mad because JJ reverted some of the things that Rian Johnson was doing in The Last Jedi, which he really didn't. Like, let's be honest. The representation is still there. The strong female characters are still there. We had our first lesbian kiss in Star Wars, so, you've still got some progressive stuff going on. And guess what? I don't give a shit about that. I'm not angry about it. I don't care.
I don't give a flying fuck about any of that.
But on the other end of that spectrum, I'm also seeing people who are still holding on to this dumb bullshit about the Rey, Mary, Sue thing. Oh my God, how many times have I fucking heard this since The Force Awakens? And they're still holding on to it. I'm like, let it fucking go.
When we get into the deeper spoilers, then I think we could quantify some of that to explain, like, where she may have appeared as a Mary Sue, and then as you get further down the line, you go like, okay, this makes sense why this is like you can rationalize it further.
Yeah, but that just kind of illustrates that there are people on both ends of the spectrum who are complaining because, again, it doesn't fit their worldview. You know what? This fucking wasn't made for you over on that side or you over on that fucking side. This movie was made for us.
Yeah.
For the people who love fucking Star Wars. You talk about fan service, I hear people in the Metacritic reviews come, oh, it's nothing but fan service. Good!
Yeah.
Good! That's what I want!
Yes.
That's why we are here. This is for us who created this fucking franchise. Because I'm sorry to say, to all the fucking casual Star Wars viewers out there, or the people who now think it's cool to watch Star Wars, it wasn't always fucking cool to watch Star Wars. I'm sorry to say.
Yeah.
We were a fringe fucking group back in the day. Yeah. The hardcore Star Wars fans. We weren't the fucking cool ones out there who were,
Yeah. Being a nerd is cool now. Not so much back in the day.
Yeah, it wasn't the thing to do. But you know what? We fucking loved this franchise so much. We supported it. We kept it going long after George Lucas fucking even imagined it would continue to go.
Piles and piles of Sacred Jedi texts and just keeping it alive.
Yeah, this fucking franchise is still alive today because of us. This fucking movie was made for us. It wasn't made for that fucking cunt at Vox who doesn't like that it's not as progressive as she would have liked it. It's not for these fucking dipshit, like, far-right people who hate any, racial or gender representation. It's not for any of those fucks. It's for us, the people that don't care about that bullshit, that just love Star Wars.
Yeah.
Fuck all those people.
Exactly. Yeah, and even worse, I think, is the critics that are out there. You said it, you hit on that point earlier. The critics they've made their brand into, like, okay, we're saying all these things and making these things progressive and blah 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 blah, and the critics are helping further that agenda, and then they turn around and it's like, well, we can't support this because it goes and changes so much of the other movie. Cool. So now you're making your living just basically riding the fucking wave of whatever's happening in this fucking politicized world. And whatever, great. You're making a market out of it, cool. But don't deliberately go out there to fucking poison the lake because you don't want anybody to fish in it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like there's so many critics out there and self-imposed. Like, we're not our job is not to be a critic of Star Wars.
Yeah.
Nobody's given it. Like, there might be people out there to care what our opinion is of it, and they probably want to see how we interpreted things and see if we share the same ideals, and that's awesome.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to pretend to go and, like, I've been telling people, go see this movie in the theater.
Yeah.
Because the music is fantastic. The story is great. If you like the original trilogy, you're really going to like this movie. And go and see it. If you don't enjoy it, if it doesn't meet your expectations, that is entirely your opinion. You're entitled to it.
Sure.
However, don't fucking trash somebody else's opinion, well, which we're kind of doing, but there's some real assholes out there. I mean, let's face it.
Yeah.
But if you're coming at it from a genuine place of, like, this is how I feel about this movie, cool. That's whatever. I'm not going to try to change your mind. That's not my job. My job's not to change your mind. My job is to make the people that kind of share my viewpoint and let us get excited about how our viewpoint is this, the things that we can talk about that we enjoyed. Yeah. Like, I know what'll happen at work. I'll go in there and Big Swede and I, we're on the same wavelength as far as, like, what we're going to enjoy in this movie and be able to talk about. Yeah. The people that didn't enjoy it, okay, you don't have to be as excited about it as I am, right? And I can be like, okay, sure, like. But it's really about expectations, and I'm so glad. I'm so fucking glad that we went into this with open minds.
Yeah, I give you full credit for that too, because that was your mantra. Like, right after The Last Jedi, it was manage your expectations, and I think. Yes, we did let ourselves get excited as it got closer and closer and as we saw more trailers, but I think underneath the surface...
We're Star Wars fans.
But still, under the surface, we kept that managing of expectations, and I think it paid dividends.
Yeah.
So, all right.
Let's get into some spoilers. Let's talk about some... Let's get into the meat.
Spoiler alert! If you, for some reason, are listening to this show and you don't want to know what happens in the movie, now would be the time to turn off, though you probably should have turned it off earlier. But yeah, spoilers from here for anybody who fucking still hasn't seen the movie yet.
Yeah. Hang on. Damn it. It's too late.
Problem?
I had something for this. But no, it's gone. The moment's gone.
Oh, would you have like a sound clip?
And I ruined it. And we can't even cut it out because I keep talking.
Yep. Now, to start off, for anybody who isn't in the private Facebook group where I posted the original video, the bet... was resolved.
This didn't have to... You could have said this before the spoiler. I guess not. Whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever.
If you're one of those people like me before the movie who didn't want to know any details outside of Lucasfilm promotional material, which, by the way, I am so happy I did. I was able to avoid any and all spoilers. Nothing was fucked for me. And that made a lot of the moments that we're going to talk about a lot better. Somebody behind us is fucking having a party or something. Yeah,
some human sacrifice.
Anyway,
that was for
nice.
The spoiler alert.
Would have been nice if you'd had that queued up.
Yeah, well, I mean, it took a second for the soundboard to come up, and
yeah, nice. So that's our spoiler alert sound. So when you hear that noise, you know that spoilers are a-coming. But yes, I received the Nobel Prize, the $14 that's been sitting on the mixer for God knows how long. Phasma did not make an appearance in Rise of Skywalker, and I am now $14 richer. So thank you for
but that
your
wasn't
contribution.
The bet.
Of course it was.
I think the bet was
wow.
was Phasma alive, and it even said it on the piece of paper that I wiped my ass with before I handed you the money.
Right, which is again on video in the private Facebook group. So
it didn't prove that she was dead. Because you can't say, well, she got thrown into a fucking pit into space. Yeah, how many times in Star Wars has somebody been thrown into a pit in space? Spoiler alert, Palpatine got fucking thrown into a fucking pit, allegedly died, and yet here we are.
Well,
so
Phasma didn't have the Force on her side, so...
You don't know.
I think you're just wishful thinking. You're
Whatever.
Just trying to lawyer
Whatever,
your way out
I
of
gave
this.
you the fucking money.
Yeah, I've already got the money. The bet's over. We'll just have to come up with a new bet to sit on the mixer for the next 2 years. But anyway, let's get into some of these details. You talked about Palpatine's return. Let's talk about that first, because the way they approached this was not what I was expecting at all. It was right out the fucking gate. Like, the first sentence in the opening fucking crawl was, Palpatine's back. It's like, whoa, where the fuck did this come from?
Well, I mean, we knew Palpatine had some involvement in it, but we knew Palpatine had some involvement in it based on what the trailers are doing. Mm-hmm. And kudos to them for putting. I think there was somebody out there that was upset with the fact that the trailers didn't actually portray what was going to happen in the movie. I'm like,
have you ever watched a trailer for Star Wars before?
I know,
like cue the Last Jedi fucking trailers.
Yeah, or the fucking Force Awakens trailers. Yeah. I mean, it's just they put out random footage there.
Yeah. Or they do intentional deception in the trailers.
Absolutely.
That shit is intentional.
They show shit that may not even see in the movie.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not unheard of. So I wasn't upset that, like, oh, what we saw in the trailer wasn't the movie. Mm-hmm. Okay. Again, there's a lot of people that fucking intake things to their asshole because they don't know how to enjoy them.
I think from this point, we need to try to curtail as much of the negative talk as we can and just focus on the movie at this point. Yeah. I know it's hard, but we got to try to do that as much as possible because we've already had our rant. But yeah, right out the gate, we're told that an ominous message is, shipped out through, I don't know, the fucking HoloNet or something.
Oh, you know what I should have done? I wish I'd taken like a picture of the scroll, because that would have been, without just to have it to be able to reference back to it.
I'm like, sure they're all over online.
Probably.
But yeah, and the first fucking sequence in this movie is Ben looking for the fucking Emperor. Like, he heard this message also, and he's like, oh no, this guy ain't gonna fuck with my power. And he's looking for him, and he eventually finds one of those. It's not a holocron. What did they call it?
Finder.
Yeah, the Finder, which is very holocron-like. He goes, confronts Palpatine. This is like the first 60 seconds in the fucking movie, and Palpatine and fucking Ben are talking.
And yeah, so real quickly, and again, if we talk about something that's negative, like, it went really fast to that.
It did.
It was like a montage of Kylo Ren fucking up dudes in the forest, then going and getting to a point where he fucking gets to the fucking Finder, then's in his fucking ship, it's fucking the music, holy fuck, the music. And then, boom, all of a sudden he's there at fucking in front of the Emperor. Great. We don't need a whole lot of exposition, honestly. Like, cool. He's fucking people up, and then there he is. Yeah,
and obviously so much to dig into when he's walking through that fucking chamber or whatever. You see the Snokes in the fucking cloning tubes.
Yeah,
like
how fucking strange is that? Fucking like, it's like in a fucking jar, Snoke in a jar. Like, how many Snokes did you have growing at one point?
Yeah, that's fucking wild.
Why still have him in the fucking jar?
And then the question begs, like, was the Snoke that we knew, is that a clone of Palpatine that just got fucked up? Did you ever see Alien 3?
No.
Where they did all the fucked up clones of Ridley? Like, was that one of the fucked up clones that Palpatine's like, I don't want that one, but he's got some force powers. We'll just have him be the leader of the First Order for a while.
Yeah, the one that actually worked with Kylo Ren was probably Snoke 3.0 or something.
Right, yeah,
or
exactly.
3.125.
It was the Stan clone. Me bad. But, yeah, so, again, it all happened very fast, but I didn't mind it.
I felt like, when I was sitting here, I felt like, wow, this is going quick.
Right.
And it made me really be like, all right, I know I'm missing something because it's going so fast. But because there's so much fucking input, man.
And that's why I think multiple viewings are almost necessary for this, to be able to absorb everything.
It's like Pulp Fiction. You can't go, like, I saw Pulp Fiction in a movie theater. You're like, what the fuck just happened?
Yeah.
And then you end up going back to fucking, all right.
To rewatch, and then you're like, oh.
It took me 4 times in the theater for Pulp Fiction to really understand everything that was going on.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think this is going to be the same thing. Just not necessarily because the story is chaotic. It's because it was moving at a pace that it's required a second viewing.
Yeah, it's throwing a lot of shit at you very, very fast, and that's and I'll just say this now because I wrote a bullet point about this, about the second viewing and the importance of a second viewing. You know, the first time when we watched it that Thursday night, it's happening so fast. I'm just like, just mouth agape, just fucking eyes wide open, just trying to absorb as much as I can. The second viewing was when I started getting emotional. There were 3 times during the second viewing where I damn near came to tears just because of how powerful the fucking scenes were.
Right.
So, but it didn't happen the first time because everything, again, was just happening so fast.
Right.
I was just trying to absorb and process everything. But then once you get past that, and then you can just start relaxing a little bit more and just kind of letting more just soak in naturally, that's when the emotions really start flowing. And god damn, there were, for example, we're kind of skipping around here, but the first one was Luke pulling the X-Wing, Ghost Luke pulling the X-Wing out, and it played the fucking Yoda music.
Well, awesome scene.
Yeah.
Great throw, awesome. But I kind of knew it was going to happen. Like with when Rey's fucking throwing the wood onto the fire, like angry throwing,
like she burned Kylo Ren's fucking
she's burning his
TIE
starship.
fighter, yeah.
And I'm like, she's gonna have to get off of fucking Luke Island somehow.
Yeah.
And oh wait, the Red 5 is still in the fucking
that
water.
Never occurred to me. Because again,
I immediately thought that, but it didn't make it any less.
Yeah.
It didn't lessen it for me. It's just like, oh fuck, this is gonna be good. How are they gonna fucking do this?
yeah. So overall, getting back to Palpatine's return, they didn't 100% explain how he came back, but I think we can kind of infer from what we saw. It was sort of a combination of what they did in Legends material, where it was clone bodies that he would transfer his essence to, or something also similar to the fucking Darth Bane, the transferring his essence to just another body in general. He kind of alluded to that a little bit after Rey got to fucking.
Well, I got the impression that. I don't know that body he was in was a cloned body. I feel like the body.
You think that was his original body?
I think that's his original body.
Because it was all fucked up. His fingers were like missing.
Like he was basically down to the bone. He had like, to me.
Oh, that would make sense, yeah.
When you look at a dead body that's been dead for a while, it gets this like bloat.
Mm-hmm.
And so the bloating, the cloudiness of the eyes, like I think that his body, he was basically fucking dead.
So he was just like floating in the vacuum of space in the fucking Death Star wreckage, just like using the Force to kind of keep himself alive.
He got thrown into, as part of the wreckage, however he went in, because he fell into the bottom of ultimately that part explodes, right?
Yeah.
You know, maybe he ends up on Endor in water. So that's kind of what it reminded me of. Whoops, sorry.
Okay.
The fucking bloat that it had going.
That actually makes a lot of sense.
And I thought it was his original body. Like the cloning and all the other things that were happening may have been him. You had this giant, at one point you had this giant arena of Sith.
Yeah.
That were in this, but they all looked the same.
Right.
So
they were all like cloaked.
They were cloaked, but how much of that was him regenerating himself? Like, but needing his fucking DNA to be able to fucking transfer in.
Yeah.
Hence needing fucking Rey.
Yeah. So again, it wasn't 100% explained how he came back, but it didn't really need to be. He even said it, like his first fucking line was something like, "The dark side of the Force is a pathway to many abilities."
Right.
Some consider to be unnatural. So,
and I think I would have had a problem with him just kind of strolling in, like just fucking walking in without any. If they didn't explain like his having a clone of him in that, and not Snoke necessarily, but having like some Palpatine bodies.
Yeah. For
for him to be able to walk in and seem like he's perfectly good. No, he was wearing this biomechanical fucking contraption.
Yeah, he was pretty fucked up in the beginning.
So it was like, that was probably a body found that he's just been keeping himself alive through the dark side.
Yeah.
So he gets to the point where he can go to the right body to be powerful enough to fucking take over.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, actually.
So,
yeah, I like it. And we'll get to it when we get to Rey's arc. One of the only criticisms I had of this movie at all was the way Rey eventually defeats Palpatine. We can talk about that, though, as we progress through her story. Want to talk about the Carrie Fisher aspect a little bit.
Yes.
You know, the fact that we knew that they were going to be resurrecting Carrie Fisher through archive footage from Force Awakens, not Last Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
And it was pretty obvious when you're watching this stuff. You can tell that's the Leia face from Force Awakens. Like a lot from the scene when it was like her and Han fucking walking around the resistance base and all that. It seemed like it was all taken from about that time frame. I think for the most part, they did a fairly good job with what they had. I mean, obviously they basically had to take lines of dialogue and scenes that they had and kind of reverse engineer them into a scene that made sense in this. But I think they did a good enough job to make it passable.
Yeah, because it was, for the scenes, they went to a place where the background made sense.
Yeah.
Like if anything, she looked better because when this is a Force Awakens footage, not the Last Jedi footage, where she looked a little bit older.
Yeah.
So if anything, she looked a little bit more, had some youthful exuberance.
Mm-hmm.
I think for what it was, now, is it perfect? Is it seamless? Pretty much. Like, it's pretty seamless.
Yeah.
But knowing it, that she had passed away. If she had been alive, this is not what she would. Obviously, this is not the role she would have played in the movie.
Oh yeah, no. This whole story would have been so much different if Carrie Fisher hadn't passed away.
I would agree. So I think that using actual footage, limiting the CGI, they had body doubles for some things. You could tell, like some of the shadowing and things like that.
Yeah.
To me, 100% acceptable given the situation.
Oh yeah.
And to have her pass in such a way that was, it might be a little bit disappointing because like you want to see something a little bit more like epic.
Yeah.
But Luke kind of went out the same way, you know. It's like, I'm going to have one last act of this massiveness in the Force that it's basically going to sacrifice myself with, similar to what Luke did in The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
So I'm okay with all of it. I'm really happy with how JJ did it and how respectful it was of her as the character.
Yeah.
You know, she's the top bill.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you look in IMDb and on the fucking movie charts, movie posters, and everything else.
Didn't you point that out when the movie was over on Thursday night?
I did.
Too?
Yeah, hers was the first name that came up.
Yeah. Which is great. That's a good way to show respect to her and everything. And I think they did a good job with what they had. There was only one scene that kind of stuck out to me as being a little awkward, and that was the one where it was Tim and Wexley comes up to her and he's like, "Oh, we're fucking doomed," and she's like, "Can you be a little more positive?" And he's like, "Oh, this is gonna be great.
Everything is," and she's like,
it just seems shoehorned in. It's like, well, we have all this footage, but we're not going to use it. So that was the only scene that seemed a little bit out of place.
Sure, yeah, but
I mean, again, a very minor criticism.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where it's like, this is what you got. You know, you're working with what you have, and one of the few times where I think I would allow it.
Yeah,
you know, I'll allow it.
Yeah.
Like, no, it didn't bother me. It didn't bother me at all. I was really, really happy with it. I was more upset that fucking she floats out of the vacuum of space, suddenly uses her this force ability to fucking float back into the bridge of the ship, and that, to me, I have more problems with that than I do with fucking how they got her into this.
But that's not what we're here to talk about.
Right.
What did you think about the training memory with Luke and Leia and their little training lightsaber battle? That was really unexpected.
It was unexpected, and I was happy with it because I felt like it was like a Legends reach. It was like an expanded universe reach back where, like, hey, Leia trained and then put up her lightsaber. You know, that was big in the Legends material. And they even allude to it in Bloodline, too. If you remember in Bloodline, there was some conversation about, like, her training in the Force and then realizing that she got to a point where it's like, no, my business is with not using the Force to do things. My business is to, you know, be in the Senate and work from that angle.
Yeah.
So I like the correlation. The CGI was, you know, you could tell, but it was.
I mean, the CGI is getting a lot better when it comes to shit like this.
Oh,
like if you look at like the deep fake stuff that's going on around YouTube out there now, it's really fucking good. And I think they use that same technology for this.
Oh, I'm sure. But here's the thing: when you're sitting however many rows back we were, and we're staring up at a head that's probably 4 feet tall.
Yeah.
You tend to you're going to see a little bit more of the detail than we will if we even watching it on a 60-inch television.
Yeah.
Now, once that thing comes out on Blu-ray and the digital, it's probably going to be even better.
Yeah.
When it comes out like that. But when you're staring at it on the big screen, and plus we know, we're not introducing these characters to us for the first time. We know what their faces looked like when they were young because we saw it. We saw it in the movies.
But I mean, I think that was really well done, honestly, and that's what I was driving at.
I liked the scene. I think it was a great way to introduce the lightsaber, Leia's saber into it. I think that was great.
Yep.
Because it tied in that part, and your wife actually did a good job explaining in her notes basically rehumanizing and healing Kylo Ren.
Yeah.
Now he, with his mother's lightsaber and her sacrifice in the Force to bring him to the light, all that shit ties together.
Yeah.
And you have that just a few seconds of that training scene. It's less than a minute.
Oh yeah. It's only a few seconds,
but it's just enough to say, yeah, Leia did train in the Force. This is how old they were. Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, because it looked like it was probably only within a couple years of Return of the Jedi.
Yeah. So, and kind of a sidebar, but there's so much that happened in this movie that lends to other shit. This really, for me, wasn't the end movie. This isn't fucking final credits. This is they look what they did with Palpatine. They just made a whole nother story with Palpatine.
Yeah.
There's a whole nother line of thought that you can go into with the Palpatine. There's a whole nother, they just opened up these little areas where it's maybe the Skywalker saga is as we know it. The finality that they were advertising is not what I got out of it.
No. If nothing else, we may not see any more movies about these characters, but we're probably going to get a shitload of books, a shitload of fucking comics to fill in all these fucking gaps.
I think this is not the last time we're going to hear Ian McDermott voice Palpatine in a movie.
Well, and that's the other thing. Kind of talking about where I was going before, the way Rey kills him in the end. How do we know he's even dead? If he's able to transfer his fucking essence, how do we know that, the whole Indiana Jones sequence with him going, and melting away?
Exactly. How many Indiana Jones references was there, that you noticed?
At least a couple, yeah.
There was at least 2.
Yeah.
Because you had, when they Rey and the gang meets up with Lando, right, on fucking Festival Planet.
Yeah.
And Lando is in that fucking tank that looks like it was straight out of the set of fucking Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
I leaned over to John. I'm like, is this the tank from Indiana Jones?
Yeah.
Of course, Lando's in there with a harem.
Right. Of course.
But I'm sure we'll get to that here in a minute.
Yeah. But, yeah. So why don't we shift gears and talk about Rey and Ben and their sort of arc throughout this movie, because Rey is continuing her training under Leia. She refers to Leia as Master. So Leia, despite not completely finishing her training, she's kind of the last person left alive who has some Jedi fucking training.
Right.
So now she is training Rey underneath her. So that was really cool, I thought.
Yeah, I agree.
And Rey's going through this. She's doing all this stuff. Her and Ben are still linked through the Force.
Yep.
Which I had a feeling was going to continue happening after The Last Jedi. It's one of the better things that happened in The Last Jedi, was this Force link between the two of them. It's carrying on in this movie as, Ben was told by Palpatine to kill Rey. Clearly that was never his plan, though. Even after talking to Palpatine and negotiating with him,
right,
he still never wanted to fucking be his little bitch. He wanted to just recruit Rey and be like, hey, let's kill him together.
Right.
So he was still fixated on Rey and wanting her to join him in whatever fashion.
And obviously, as we come to find out, because of their lineage, that's why Rey was so important to Palpatine.
Yeah. So, I mean, we can just go ahead and say this now. Again, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen the movie yet, then why the fuck are you listening to this?
Yeah, you've gone too far.
Turn
around, you've gone too far.
One of the very first fan theories after Force Awakens came out, Rey being a Palpatine, has come to pass.
Right.
So she is indeed a Palpatine, which
She's not a clone.
No.
She's not a clone.
She's the granddaughter.
Right.
Because apparently Sheev Palpatine had a son. That's a whole other fucking story that they've got to tell at some point.
Yeah. So, and I was actually typing this out as we were talking because I wanted to make sure I had my thought square.
Mm.
You know, as we're talking about the Rey lineage.
Yeah.
I think this is one of the big fucking shotgun blasts to the face of Rian Johnson. Was like, oh yeah, the parents are nothing. Yeah, no, they're not nothing.
Yeah.
Like we're that you fucked that up, dude.
Mm-hmm.
And JJ fucking brought it back, and good on him.
Yeah, and I think that was JJ's intent from the start. Like,
Really?
I think JJ kind of planted those seeds of her being a Palpatine. If you go back in like 4 years and watch any of these YouTube theory videos, they break it down like all the way down to Rey's fighting style with the lightsaber in Force Awakens, how it was identical to the way Palpatine fought. You know, it's just little shit like that.
So, Palpatine apparently has a son, right?
Yeah.
And those two make Rey.
Right.
Right? So, whether this was... So, based on the age of Rey, or what we think the age of Rey is, then Palpatine probably fathered this child before he became the Emperor, right? I mean...
That would make sense.
Just doing quick and dirty, like, without any super analysis, just thinking off the cuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
So... Palpatine's in the Senate. He diddles with some intern, fucking creates a spawn, and the next thing you know, fucking now they're married. They had this fucking kid. They're trying to hide Rey from Palpatine because Palpatine turns into the fucking Emperor. The son's probably like, oh shit. We don't know what his force abilities are, if there were even any.
Which I'm thinking there probably weren't any to speak of. Which is probably why Palpatine didn't give a shit about him, because he's like, he's not good with the Force. I'd fucking kill him, but it's not worth my time. You know?
So there's a whole story arc there that it has to explain. But what's really interesting, so if Rey has the fucking genes, right? She, like the pass-through genes that make her fucking super, like super in tune with the Force.
Yeah.
Then it does explain, it eliminates the whole Mary Sue theory, because she would have already, like, she would have had those abilities without necessarily realizing it.
Yeah, when it's in your blood, it's in your blood, man.
Yeah, exactly. It's genetics. It's like the blue eye gene, right? Yeah, blue eye genes can pass through a generation, and nobody ever has blue eyes, but then suddenly that gene shows up somewhere else.
Yeah.
I mean, genetics 101, right?
And I think Bill Burr, like, he had a really good stand-up routine talking about certain people who have just, like, naturally gifted athletic ability. Like, a guy fucking jumps from the fucking foul line and just dunks the fucking ball in a basketball hoop. And the other guys aren't just going like, fuck, why didn't I think of that? No, this guy had the fucking, just the genetics, the fucking athletic ability, probably from birth, to be able to fucking do that. So, and that's probably very similar to the way the Force is.
So you have Rey that has all this Force ability. Cool. She's the granddaughter of Palpatine. You know what else is the granddaughter of Palpatine? Fucking Leia.
I guess if you consider Anakin the son of Palpatine,
right?
Then yes.
Because Palpatine created Anakin in Shmi, right? This is canon.
Yeah.
So that would make him the father.
So
which
what
makes Anakin like his son, thereby making Luke and Leia also Palpatine's grandkids.
So what you're saying is Rey and Ben are like second cousins?
Yeah. I mean, I kind of.
Yeah.
It's just so, but the Force, like, traveling through the family and have so much dark side influence. It like, if you were writing a book about this, like, look, my natural propensity is to think back because I have so much expanded universe information banging around in my fucking dome, right? So this to me starts telling like something that would have happened in one of the expanded universe stories, you know, as these families and these bloodlines start to come together, and the Force being so strong in it, like if you have a Dark Lord of the fucking Sith that has all this fucking ability, just walking around like a normal dude and creating all of these fucking lines on all this deception, because Palpatine was powerful enough to blindside the fucking entire Jedi Council, take over the fucking universe, you know, or take over the galaxy, and still powerful enough also to fucking live through being thrown into the fucking pit of despair, and then get to a Sith world where he could fucking at least get his technology to the point where he could sustain his own life and continue the machinations all these strings that he was pulling for his plan B and plan C. Yeah. Like, and doing all of this shit for the final order. Like those terms, like the first order was just the beginning. Yeah. You know, now the final order is like, holy shit, dude. That was awesome. That was great exposition, and I you know, hi to all the new people in the chat. I love seeing new names in the chat. I can't keep up with everything. We're going to talk about how Rey beats Palpatine here in a second.
Yeah.
But yeah, everybody, if you're in the chat, like the video.
Yeah.
Give me a... God damn it. Do things.
And subscribe to the All Things Star Wars audio podcast.
Yeah.
Because
Also,
the
yes.
video is just, you guys getting to see the behind the scenes as we're recording the audio podcast. So.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, Big Swede. Palpatine was the master of the long game. Yeah, fuck it. God damn it, he was.
Yep.
Holy shit.
So, kind of, before we get too far ahead of ourselves, Ben goes through a really interesting story arc in this. Mm-hmm. He is still determined to get Rey on his side, have her help him beat fucking Palpatine. He knows that she's the granddaughter. I guess Palpatine revealed this, like, right in the beginning. I guess another area where I was a little bit disappointed was the way it was revealed that she was the granddaughter. It just happened to be another one of those sequences where her and Ben were kind of facing off through the Force, and he fucking told her. Or no, this was after she got to the Star Destroyer. After one of those sequences.
When she was on the Star Destroyer.
Yeah, and he came up and he's like, "You're his granddaughter." It's like, oh, okay.
And I think that she knew it. I think that she
knew it.
Knew it. It alluded to the fact that, because she was even saying it, like, she just didn't want to admit it. Like, she didn't want to face that fact. Okay. But that's what her connection was, and that's why she had to do so many things. Like, oh, I don't know how to handle this packet of information. You can't possibly process it, and all right, I'm going to go back through the training run and do all this type of shit, right?
And so many times throughout this movie, she got angry. She got pissed off.
Yeah.
She used very dark side tendencies.
Fucking A, right.
As she was going
just like
through.
she did in fucking Force Awakens
Yep.
and in Last Jedi.
Yeah. And...
Anyway, we're talking about Ben. I got
Oh, sure. Yeah. But, I mean, that kind of goes along with what's happening with Rey. They have a lot of these Force links. And this was sort of introduced in The Last Jedi, but they really pushed it in this one. The transference of physical objects through their Force link.
What was the term that they used for... it was the divergent, not divergent.
I know what you're talking about. The term that Ben used, he said it's like this doesn't happen but for every few generations or some shit. Right. I can't remember.
Plus, because they're related. I mean, ultimately, they are related.
See, I don't want to believe that because I still liked the whole romantic ties with them.
Sure.
So
whatever. It's.
I'm a Reylo guy. I'm sorry, but that's.
And that's. I'm fine with the Reylo thing, even the way that that part of it ended.
Yeah.
That's all good, but it's. I think there's still a genetic connection there, and so it does. To me, there's enough of it there that makes the whole, all right, this is the divergence Force dyad. Okay, thank you. If I had saw it the second time, this was one of the things I wanted to pick up on.
Yeah.
But this Force dyad, I think it's because they have a genetic connection, like not just in the Force, but like in their bloodlines, they share enough in the Force to make him that much more powerful.
Sure. Either way, they've got this really strong Force link, and then we're given this whole transference of items, and Ben is using that to find out where Rey is, be it the party beads from the Mardi Gras festival,
right,
or the Darth Vader mask. He's like, oh shit, she's in my fucking office,
right?
So I liked that, and I think it was paid off pretty well at the very end.
I would agree.
When you get the lightsaber transfer,
I would agree.
That was.
I love the. Again, this is a expanding universe kind of reach back to me where you start doing things like this. Even in Last Jedi, when they had the actual their Force, they're using the Force to kind of communicate with each other.
Yeah.
Like in real time, like in front of each other, and actually making physical connections. I like that JJ built off of that.
Yeah.
Because I think this original thought is something that they used really well in the expanded universe when explaining a lot of different things, and now it has this huge payoff at the end with the how does Kylo get hold of Leia's lightsaber, and how do they do this, and how does it bring it back?
Was it Leia's lightsaber?
I think it was the baby killer.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It was the baby killer that she gave him.
Because I was trying to follow that transfer, and I'm pretty sure he had the baby killer.
Yeah. So And then so much to go through. We don't have time to go beat by beat on this, but ultimately they have their confrontation on the wreckage of the Death Star. Fucking Leia does a little force call out to Ben. She kind of does the Luke gimmick where she fucking reaches out across the stars using the force, contacts Ben halfway through this fight. It looked like Rey was like beat. Like Ben had Rey beat at this point. She was fucking out of energy. She was fucking just like, swinging haymakers, just trying to land anything at this point.
Right.
And Ben had her fucking dead to rights. And then Leia distracts him enough to where he's like, oh fuck. And then Rey just his lightsaber too, right through his own fucking gut.
Yep.
And like I thought that was it. Like I thought, oh, well, I
Right,
guess he's dead.
That's how we got rid of Kylo Ren.
Yeah.
Just like getting rid of Chewbacca. Like you get that fucking initial like. Are we gonna? We have a separate.
Well, I knew we didn't. I didn't make a note of that, but I knew Chewbacca wasn't dead only because I remember from the trailers he's in a lot of other scenes that happen after that. I'm like, there's no fucking way he's dead. But that was a fucking sweet ass scene too,
right.
which we kind of skipped over that. The fucking force grabbing of the shuttle to where Rey gets so fucking pissed, boom, fucking force lightning comes out.
Yep.
Which was awesome.
Yeah, it was. That was fucking awesome. And everybody going like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Like that's, well, all right, that happened.
Yeah. So, but Rey fucking cuts down Kylo. And I really thought he was fucking done at that point. Because in all the trailers and everything, we didn't see any scenes of him beyond that. Beyond that battle on the wreckage of the Death Star.
Yeah.
So I'm like, fuck, he's gone. Then, of course, she does the force healing, which we saw earlier in the movie, which was alluded to in the previous episode of The Mandalorian.
Right.
So that was our tie-in that we got, because there is no fucking way that was a coincidence. No fucking way.
No way.
So they intentionally did that to fucking get us ready for the major role that the force healing was going to play in this fucking movie.
And honestly, it's just, again, where I really was happy walking out of the theater with how they are, instead of deadening the force and making the force like, okay, we're not going to really talk about the force. We're not going to use the force a whole lot. We're just going to like make it, something that's always in the background.
Yeah.
No, we're advancing. We're advancing the fact that now, with the light side, and as things are happening, that there's more use of the force. There's more force abilities,
which we got in a lot of the old expanded universe that they haven't touched on up to this point in the new canon.
Yeah, I felt like, oh man, this is great. This is great for the future.
Yeah, and this is, again, people are like, oh, how does she know how to do this force healing? Where did this come from? I'm like, this has been around. Like, they've been doing this in expanded universe and everything.
Right.
So
flow walking, like how using the force the way they've been doing it.
So this is not a new concept by any stretch. Yeah. But again, for the people who aren't fucking familiar with it, who aren't real fucking Star Wars fans, you might not know that, and you might be a little confused.
Yeah.
So this was such a symbolic scene too, where she cuts down Kylo. First of all, she did it out of fucking anger too. She was like pissed off. It's just like, ah, and then she was like kind of in shock with herself.
Oh shit!
After she did that, she goes and heals him, and this is essentially the point where Kylo Ren was killed, and like Ben is kind of reborn.
Right
at this point, she fucking heals him. He doesn't really say much. Which, and by the way, somebody pointed this out on Reddit, and I think it's in Kristen's notes, that when she healed him, his fucking scar went away too. Yeah. I didn't notice that either time when I saw it in theaters. So that's something I'm going to be paying attention to next time.
Right.
But yeah, his fucking facial scar was gone after she healed him. But anyway.
Oh, the Scarlett Ryan Johnson moved?
Yeah, that one. But, so, and he's just kind of like laying there still in shock even after she heals him, and she's just like, I would have taken your hand if it was Ben. And then she goes and fucking gets in his fucking
takes his fucking TIE fighter,
and then beats feet out of there while Finn is still doing his typical Ray.
Oh god, yeah, Jesus, Finn. At least one thing is been consistent.
Yeah,
Finn's annoying.
Well, I think his character like made some really good progression in this movie, but we'll get to that.
We'll get there.
So then comes the big cameo, which I am so glad this was not spoiled for me. I don't know if you knew this was going to happen or not, but the fucking return of Harrison Ford.
I did not.
Like
I had no fucking idea.
I was shocked when I think everybody pretty much thought this when Kylo Ren's standing there like fucking thinking to himself, not sure what to do, and you hear, "Hey kid," I thought it was Luke. I thought he was going to turn around and see the ghost of Luke. I didn't know it was going to be fucking Harrison Ford as Han fucking Solo standing right there.
Yeah, if I had read that anywhere, I would have been like, nah, that's complete fucking bullshit.
Yeah.
That'll never happen.
Because we've always known how Harrison Ford thought about the Star Wars universe and all that, and he only agreed to do Force Awakens if they killed him off. I want to know what his fucking payday was, by the way, for Rise of Skywalker. For like one day of shooting, I'd love to know how much money he made on that. It was probably a fucking close to $1 million. Anyway, it was as a memory to Ben. It was sort of kind of like a projected memory almost, and a lot of the dialogue between the two of them was the dialogue right before he fucking killed Han Solo.
Right.
In Force Awakens. Very similar dialogue. And then there was one great fucking point where Ben goes, "Dad?" And you know, it seemed like he wanted to say "I love you," and Han just puts his hand on him and just goes, "I know."
When he says "I know," that was just like, wow, that was great.
Yeah.
That was really fucking good. Because I was taken aback with the Han Solo reveal like that. Like,
really,
it took me a second. Like, what are they? Where are we going with this?
Yeah.
You know, am I supposed to believe that? Like, it did. It's in the theater. It just took me a little bit to you know, digest it.
Yeah.
And I really like the I know reach back, and it's one of those parts of the movie that wasn't necessary, I don't think.
No, but again, it was the fan service.
It was fan service, and it was a great way to show this transition from the Kylo Ren to Ben.
Yep. And I gotta say, when I was watching it the second time with my family, my youngest son Ben, who is a huge Harrison Ford fan, by the way, he loves the fucking Indiana Jones movies. He always talks about them. He always talks about Harrison Ford doing, Force Awakens and all this other stuff. Huge Harrison Ford fan. When he came up on the fucking screen, I heard my son next to me go, like he fucking gasped. He was so excited when he saw that. And for me, that's a memory that I'm going to have with me for the rest of my life. My son just being so fucking excited when he saw Harrison Ford up on that screen. And I fucking loved it. It was such a good experience. Like you said, it probably wasn't necessary, but I'm certainly not going to complain. I enjoyed that scene, and I think I'm going to enjoy it the more I see it. And it's like you said, it's a great transition from him losing the Kylo Ren persona and becoming Ben Solo again. So I thought that was fucking great. As far as Rey goes, yeah, that's just where she goes to Luke Island, and that's where we get the actual Luke Skywalker fucking cameo.
Right.
Which he comes back as a ghost. Because Rey's whole idea now is, I'm going to just fucking do what you did and just be a little bitch on the fucking island and not get involved. And Luke's like, I was wrong about that. Which is another slap to fucking Rian Johnson.
Yeah, exactly. Thank God there was no fucking blue teats or any other bullshit on Luke Island.
Yeah.
You got a Porg. You got a Porg thing there watching
your
her.
obligatory Porg cameo.
Which fine, whatever. That's all good. I love getting to Luke Island. I love her burning Kylo Ren's ship and like fully committing to, I'm not fucking leaving.
Yeah.
Just like fucking Luke did. I mean, obviously, that's like, fuck this. I can't handle any of this bullshit. I'm Palpatine's fucking grandkid. I've his connection to the most evil person, and I've seen myself on the throne.
Yeah.
That's what she says. I had the vision. I've seen myself on the fucking throne.
Yeah. Now, here's an interesting thing. Luke basically alludes to the fact that he always knew, and that Leia always knew Rey's origins. Like during that conversation that he had with Rey, and Rey even says, she knew, and she trained me anyway. You know, so what are your thoughts on that? On the fact that allegedly Luke and Leia knew who she was all along.
There's almost no data that I've. I mean, maybe there's a comic out there that maybe dips their toe into something like this. Maybe it's just something that once Luke sacrificed himself, and he became one with the Force, maybe that's something that became evident to him at that point.
Okay.
Because you have, I was thinking about this the next morning, after we saw it, and you have the sequence in Rebels where they're kind of in between this like dimensional portal and things like that.
Yeah, that kind of time gate almost.
Yeah, and it
it
makes me believe that if this was, I mean, obviously that's canon, and if through the Force and being Force ghosts and are able to communicate with and use the Force, is this something that would contribute to this? Is this the explanation? Is that this is how Luke would find out? Luke would tell Leia, right?
Okay.
And he would tell Leia, look, you have to train her.
Right.
And it would probably be one of those things like, look, she is going to fucking go to the dark side unless we intervene somehow. And this is and I think there was even something in there, and I could be making this up, but I thought I remember picking up something where it said that like Leia knew that she was going to have to make a sacrifice.
Right.
And one way or the other. And
yeah, Maz said that. Maz,
yeah,
she knows what she has to do,
right,
to bring her son back or whatever.
Right, and honestly, and bringing her son back wasn't just about bringing him back to life. It was more about bringing Ben Solo back.
Yes.
And committing that sacrifice. Why is my phone blowing up?
Everybody loves Dave.
Whatever.
So, kind of fast forward towards the end of the movie to close up the whole Rey and Ben discussion before we move on. Yeah, she confronts Palpatine. He's kind of talked her into basically, if you don't fucking kill me and you don't take the fucking throne, all your friends up there are gonna die. So
yeah, a reach back to with
Return
Luke.
of the Jedi,
yeah, with Luke and fucking go look at the window. Yeah, you're pitiful. This pitiful fucking rebellion. Blah 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 blah. Giant egomaniacal narcissist emperor.
Yeah,
standard shit. Perfect. Yeah. Don't reinvent the wheel. What made the Emperor and Ian McDermott such a good fucking character?
Yep.
That type of fucking bravado and everything else. Ultimately gets his ass thrown in a pit or melted like he fucking drank from the wrong cup.
Yeah, so instead of striking him down, she does the Force thing with Ben, because as he's running up, the fucking Knights of Ren confront him, which Knights of Ren, big fucking waste, just like fucking Phasma was.
Yeah, it was. That was.
It's like, come on.
They were wasted. They were a bunch of fucking punks. And
Yeah.
I will say that when we're talking about... That was bothering me.
Yeah.
When we're talking about the... the original scenes with like Ren going through and meeting up with the Knights of Ren and like basically running his little side mission to fucking figure out who the fucking Emperor is. I lost my train of thought.
Talking about the Knights of Ren being a waste.
They were just a waste. It was fucking like great. They got us to buy a bunch of fucking pops.
Yeah.
Us being me, but it was I don't know what they would have done with the characters, because they didn't seem like they were Force wielders. They just seemed like brutes. It seemed like just a gang of fucking people.
Right, because I think the initial thought was they were the other apprentices of Luke's that fucking Ben disappears with after he torches the fucking temple. They were the other Force users that were training. But like you said, never showed any Force ability. Right. Don't use any lightsabers. They use a bunch of fucking big axes and
their
fucking hammers.
Their names, like when you look at it, you got Knights of Ren fucking blaster rifle, Knights of Ren fucking war club.
And I think I even said this before. I'm like, they're going to end up being nothing in this movie. And they were, for the most part.
Yeah.
All they were was a vehicle for Ben to, off them as good Ben with the fucking lightsaber. Now, here's another thing that I wanted to talk about. So good Ben comes up, teams with Rey. They both got their lightsabers. Fucking Palpatine's like, the two of you are here together, and boom, now I'm gonna suck your fucking life force out, and I'm gonna completely regen myself, and now I'm back to Papa Palpatine from 30 years ago.
Yeah, something that he thought he was only intending on doing it with Rey.
Okay, see, that was my question. Do you think that was his plan all along, was to lure them both back? Because the way he was talking about it seemed like he was alluding to the fact that because it was the two of them and they had this fucking whatever the fuck that we called it, the dyad or whatever,
right?
And he was able to drain the power from both of them in their little fucking Force link. That's what brought him back to full form. Was that his intention all along? Did he never intend to fucking give Rey the throne? Like, did he always intend to just use her for her power, lure Ben over as well, fucking suck the life force out of both of them, and now I'm back, baby?
I think that Palpatine's original thing was to sacrifice Ben to force Rey to show up at the Emperor. Like, he knew that she was going to have to show up there, and the way that she would do it would be using fucking Kylo Ren. So she was going to fucking beat Kylo Ren, hop in the fucking ship, and go.
Yeah.
The fact that Kylo Ren lives, I think, is that it's that twist in there that this is the fucking light side of the Force, the stuff that Palpatine can't predict.
Yeah.
You know, if Palpatine's seeing into the future and making all these manipulations, he can't possibly know that Leia's going to sacrifice herself. You know, you would think that's that one zig. You know, always in motion is the future, right?
Yep.
So that's the one area where it's like, okay, well, we're gonna do this, and then now Ben's gonna fucking come back.
And, you know, Palpatine even mentioned that when he was talking to that general. He's like, the Princess of Alderaan, you know, temporarily messed up my plans or whatever.
Right.
So, again, something that he didn't predict.
I think that was a, I think that's something, Princess of Alderaan, we knew exactly who he was talking about.
Sure.
But he also could have said, like, the Queen of Naboo or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, maybe not. I mean, maybe he still needs to maintain that subterfuge, like he doesn't know, like, her origin. But, yeah, I feel like you know where she was fucking from, dude.
Yeah.
Like, she is like a princess of Naboo as much as Alderaan.
Well, you know, but he was talking to the general, so maybe that's the only way the general knew her.
Maybe.
That General Pride guy.
Yeah.
But, so, anyway, ultimately, Rey has the whole "the be with me" moment.
Right.
When she's calling out to the previous Jedi. This was such a cool scene because she has this weird fucking vision where, like, she kind of shoots into the fucking stars, and then you hear the voices of pretty much every fucking actor who has ever played a Jedi on screen.
Yep.
You hear their fucking voices.
Anybody who had a line.
Yeah, the who's who. Your fucking Samuel L. Jacksons, Liam Neeson, fucking Ewan McGregor. They pulled some Alec Guinness dialogue.
Yep.
Ahsoka, which that's an interesting thing because everybody else on this fucking list is dead. Last we saw, Ahsoka was still alive, so that can lead to a discussion later on. Fucking Ayla Sakura, the chick that did her voice, did that. I looked it all up on IMDb because the first time around, I'm like, oh my god, all these people, you know. But fucking Freddie Prinze Jr., aka Kanan,
right,
was a voice in there. No Ezra though. I think that was everybody.
So too.
But yeah, like, obviously I'm waiting for fucking Samuel L. motherfucking Jackson.
Yep.
And sure enough, he showed up.
And you heard him.
And oh my god, just such a cool moment. That was another one where I damn near got emotional on the second viewing as I'm listening. Creepy fucking line though, as fucking Hayden Christensen says, fucking bring balance to the Force like I once did. It's like, motherfucker, you slaughtered like hundreds of Jedi.
Yeah.
So I don't think you should be speaking up very much.
All right, so let's talk about that for a second.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, he slaughtered younglings, right? Let's.
Well, more than just younglings, but that was a big one that stuck
Right,
out.
so he slaughters younglings and eliminates all these Jedi, right?
Mm-hmm.
Luminara was one of the other.
Yes. Yep.
I think that as part of the one, you know, the person that's bringing balance to the Force, you had a lot of Jedi that were basically brought up under the Yoda regime that, you know, war crimes Yoda. You know, it's his ignorance and his want to keep emotion and shit like that out of the Jedi Order created a series of Jedi that were fucking oblivious to the existence of the Emperor until he revealed himself.
Yeah.
So maybe as part of what he was his duty in the Force was to, like, well, these people aren't going to get converted over. Fucking, we'll just eliminate them. We'll start fresh.
Damn.
Maybe that's part of it. You know, because what's going to happen? What if all these Jedi were alive, and then all of a sudden they fucking come to realize, like, oh fuck, we had no fucking clue. We were completely oblivious to the fact that this essence of the dark side was clouding everything and all their decisions and everything else. What good are they?
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, fucking eliminate those guys because they suck.
Because yeah,
and start over, right?
It almost like there was an imbalance in the dark side's way, because despite the fact that you had, a millionfold more Jedi, the fucking dark side was just stronger at that point because the Jedi were so diluted and weak at that point. Because the imbalance was the imbalance of the dark side at that point.
Well, let's face it, the dark side, my opinion, the dark side is more powerful because it uses passion.
Yeah.
And that's a natural thing. That using that passion and using your anger is a natural thing, as opposed to denying its existence, which is what the Jedi were trying to do. It's this hard left, hard right stance, right? So if, like, you're using all of your passion and everything else to fucking, be a badass, that's one thing. Or if you're trying to, on the other side, going, no, we're going to meditate our way into fucking a peaceful existence, that doesn't fucking work either. There's that fucking gray Jedi thing in the middle where it's like, yeah, I understand that I'm using passion, and every sequence that we've seen, lightsaber battles, everything else, the only person that was truly using like the Zen side of the Force was Qui-Gon against Darth Maul. Yeah. And how'd that work out? How'd that fucking work out for him? I'm going to sit here and I'm going to meditate right before I get a fucking laser sword through the stomach. Right? Fucking asshat. So, yeah, and then Obi-Wan's reaction was purely out of passion because he just dropped his master. He didn't fucking meditate on that. He fucking went after his ass.
Yeah, he's like fucking just like waiting for that shield to come down.
So
I'm gonna fucking murder you.
Every instance we see where the Force is being used successfully, there has to be some passion behind it. And I think that the Yoda class of Jedi was part of the problem. And yeah, the purge of Jedi had to happen, or else you would not have balance.
Yeah. And then the Jedi that came up after that were a hell of a lot stronger and a lot more in tune with
and if we fast forward to the very end, when Rey is burying, they go back to Tatooine and she's burying the thing outside the sands, and which I thought was a great fucking scene.
Oh yeah.
What color is her lightsaber?
Yellow.
It's yellow.
Yeah.
Right? Which it's that neutrality color, right? So I think that they Big Swede in the chat, let Qui-Gons be Qui-Gons. I think that alludes to that. It's like you can't have this far left and far right of the Force. There's something in the middle.
Yeah.
And that's where she's aimed.
Now, what do you think about the way she killed Palpatine? So ultimately, the way she takes him down is she just deflects his Force lightning with both lightsabers back at him, and he fucking does the whole, like we said, Indiana Jones fucking face melting sequence.
Well, listen, I want to see it again. My initial reaction is I noticed some people in the chat that were talking about it, how it just seems so unrealistic, but she's now shared, like, he was drawing her power into him, and then somehow that got reversed so that she lived through that. Yeah. So, however, like the transmogrification of the fucking what was happening, I think what was more unrealistic to me wasn't necessarily how Rey defeated Palpatine. What was more unrealistic is how Palpatine took down all those Star Destroyers, like went and fired all that Force lightning in, and basically ionicized whatever.
Because he didn't destroy them; they just fucking lost
and then
power.
Just said
it was like a big EMP pulse.
Exactly. And are we allowed to say that? Yeah, that's not classified, right?
EMP pulse?
Yeah, never mind. Anyway, so fucking starships are falling out of the sky, and to me, that was an way too over the top fucking expression of how powerful Palpatine. Like, I thought it was powerful enough that like he was regenerating his tissue.
Yeah.
Like he was healing
Well, that was as he was sucking the power from Rey and
Right,
Ben.
but they're like we're talking about then using that fucking power into like so he's using like what we're seeing in the Force, right? Pulling it like she used her power to heal Ben. Now he's healing himself.
Right.
You know, there's all this shit that's happening. That there's just a little over the top for me. But her deflecting and like taking both lightsabers, we've seen lightsabers, somebody single-handedly hold a lightsaber and absorb Force lightning.
Right, yeah,
Like,
that's not unheard of.
Yeah,
but
and redirecting that same energy back, like using the Force to do that. I mean, she could very easily have generated Force lightning herself. She had already done it.
yeah.
So that didn't bother me. I know it bothers some people. It didn't bother me. Maybe on second viewing I go, but personally, I didn't mind it.
Yeah, I just think there probably could have been a cooler way she could have offed him. Like, fucking just cut him down with both lightsabers. Just fucking just...
Yeah, but this motherfucker, that's like... Take a piece of paper and throw it through a fucking regular cross-cut shredder, right? That's basically what happened when he got thrown into the pit, right? Mm-hmm. But he managed to put himself back together.
Right.
Like, you put that into one of the fucking shredders that turns shit into dust, really hard to put that shit back together.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. You turn a motherfucker to dust, so there's nothing left but his fucking his cloak, and you're just basically breathing him in because he's turned into dust.
Right.
That's a little bit more final.
Yeah. Now, I do wonder if there's some symbolism or if it's just like it was more powerful because it was Luke and Leia's lightsabers that she was using together to fucking, kind of throw that Force lightning back at him. Like, was that you?
No.
No, that's my sister trying to call me. Sorry, kiddo. Recording the podcast. I totally forgot what I was going to say.
You were talking about...
Oh, yeah. Luke and Leia's lightsabers
Yeah.
being used to fucking throw the lightning right back at him. Maybe it's something to do with that and the energy in their lightsabers. I don't know. But I felt like there could have been a better way for her to take him down. Minor complaint, though. Overall, still very happy with the way it kind of resolved itself. Now, what I'm confused about is why did this all of a sudden kill her? That's what I want to know. Because ultimately, she was fucking dead after this.
Right.
She had the fucking dead face going and everything else.
Yep.
And then Ben rolls back, and we see another very symbolic Force healing because, in a sense, it was like the Rey Palpatine fucking died at that point. And when Ben revived her, he basically gave her the essence of the last Skywalker. So that's kind of why you can kind of justify why she's a Skywalker now, because he gave his life force to fucking revive her. So again, just like when she fucking killed Ben and healed him, Kylo's dead, Ben's alive. Now it's like Rey Palpatine's dead, but now Rey Skywalker's alive, kind of thing.
Yeah, I think it killed her because of how much of the Force she had to use to fucking redirect that and ultimately defeat the Emperor.
Sure.
Like if she, walked away from that unscathed, that's probably unrealistic to me. That probably would have struck me differently. But to me, it was just like she expended everything she had to fucking take the Emperor out, and that's why she died. When Ben put her hand on her belly like that, I initially thought that he was impregnating her. Like, there we go. We're starting it all over again with fucking, like, all right, just because that's how Palpatine impregnated Shmi, right?
Yep.
He fucking just put his hand on her fucking belly.
Dick.
Yeah, it's
Baby.
And go. Metachlorians all over her face.
Yeah. But I mean, hey, he may still have done that. We don't know because the Tatooine scene could have been, a day after the fucking the battle before she had the chance to start showing. So there could be a little Skywalker in her.
Which I don't think they would do. I think they're trying to close the book on that, but not completely out of the question.
Well, I mean, let's be honest.
Ow.
Nothing's ever really over.
Yeah.
Like, no one's ever really gone, right?
Right.
Because they say it's the final one. They can always fucking go back and be like, you know what? We're going to do episode 10 anyway.
Right.
We're going to do 10, 11, and 12 because, fucking Daisy Ridley's broke and, she's looking for some more work. Our other fucking Rian Johnson trilogy isn't going as well as we had hoped. Fuck it. We're doing episodes 10, 11, and 12.
What's left?
As far as what to talk about?
Yeah.
So, other bullet points I had were Finn and Poe's arcs because they were the other main characters in this movie. I actually feel like they grew really well. All right. But I guess before we get into this, we can take a quick break.
Yes, please.
All right. Well, because Dave really has to evacuate, we will take a break and be right back after this word from our sponsors. I actually could go too. So. All right. Hope this analysis is making sense so far. Hello to everyone in the chat. I was not expecting this much participation. Apex, Scott Rasmussen, Jeff Cleveland, Big Swede. I know I saw Big Lovin' in there somewhere. While we wait for Dave.
Bop it to start. High score, 69. Bop it. Twist it. Pull it. Twist it. Bop it. Pull it. Twist it. Pull it. Twist it. Pull it. Bop it. Bop it. Bop it. Twist it. Bop it. Pull it. Bop it. Bop it. Twist it. Bop it.
Oh, I pulled.
Everything is going to be fine.
All right, I might as well do this too.
Bop it to start.
No, I will not be bopping it.
Maybe we should give it a rest, eh, Chewie?
Yeah, I would agree. Oh, kids. What the hell? I've got Lamar Jackson starting for my championship game. Not in the All Things Star Wars Podcast League, but... Oh, Jeff Cleveland. Hola. I did not know you spelled Jeff that way. Very good. Yeah, so I'm in this fantasy league that I barely paid attention to, like the entire season. It's not a money league. It's just bragging rights. And I went 10-4 in that league. I have significant amount of points more than almost everybody in that league. And I'm in the championship game.
How's it going?
And, well, right now it's got me projected to lose, ironically.
Were you projected to win at first?
Oh, by a lot. So this will be curious to see how this goes. He's got, oh, fuck. The Baltimore tight end, who apparently Lamar Jackson, I'm getting good points out of Lamar Jackson, but he's scoring all his touchdowns to my opponent's tight end.
Oof.
So,
Sad face.
yeah, indeed. And I had Kittle at tight end, and he got me a good amount of points. Fucking Dwayne Hopkins fucking killed me. If I end up losing this, it's gonna be because of him.
I'm sorry to hear that.
But it is what it is. Like I said, I've got no skin in this game. It's just mainly bragging rights. So,
Yeah. All right, so we're ready to get back to it?
that's also another league where I had Derrick Henry, who had been money for me all season. Now he's fucking out in the fantasy playoffs. What the fuck?
All right, well, let's try to wrap this up in another 15 to 30 minutes. If we can.
Before we come back. Oh, Bronco Fest's not in there. But what the fuck, Boise State? Jesus Christ.
I thought they already played their final game.
It was the bowl game. Was last night.
Oh, it wasn't the Hawaii game, though, right?
They already played that game.
Right. I thought
This
that
was the bowl game.
Oh.
They lost to Washington by a lot.
Oh, really?
They got their shit pushed in really hard.
Ugh.
They look terrible.
That's
Apparently,
Sorry,
when
bro.
they're not on a blue field, they fucking forget how to play football.
That's too bad.
And I may or may not have had a bet riding on that game, too. Motherfuckers.
All right. Are we ready now?
Yes.
All right. 30 seconds of silence, and we'll finish up Finn and Poe. Talk about John Williams, and then kind of close it out. And 30 seconds of silence starting now. And we're back! So, Finn and Poe. Personally, I think Finn finally got a good treatment. I think his introduction in Force Awakens was okay. I expected a lot more out of his character. I think Rian Johnson just completely pissed all over him in The Last Jedi, I think.
Right.
And really Poe, too, honestly. I think he pissed all over both of those characters.
Well, obviously Poe, but
Yeah.
and for reasons it's not even worth extrapolating on now. But
I think they both got much better arcs in this movie. One of Kristen's. So Kristen made a thing of a bunch of bullet points that
Right.
we were going to cover. You know, bullet points like redemption of Kylo Ren, minutia, what Finn wanted to tell Rey, and then her last thing was gay stuff, and just underneath it is Poe's scarf.
I know, right? It's like, and I said it out loud too in the theater. I was like, "Nice scarf."
Yeah. I don't know what they were doing with that, but that was pretty comical. Actually,
I think, but talking about that with the Poe story, and there's always like been this underlying thing with like, well, is this like there's a thing between Finn and Poe or whatever,
Right,
besides
right.
this
Yeah,
platonic life-saving friendship thing,
sure.
and introduced Zori Bliss, who we didn't really talk about, as a character that helps them in their time of need.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's somebody that Poe used to run with. Poe coming to find out that he was a spice runner at some point, which I wonder what his parents would have thought.
I know, right?
You know?
As former rebel pilots,
But Temin was an arms dealer, you know,
True.
a black market arms dealer.
well,
So
yeah, that was when he was a teenager. I don't
Right.
know. It's
and I'm sure Poe is in the same boat,
Right.
but it's just I thought the Zori Bliss character, because I just wanted to talk about her for a second, because it's like, hey, Carrie Russell looked fucking phenomenal in that outfit, even though
Yeah.
the most you see of her really is just the fucking eyes
Yeah.
when she undoes the mask. But I thought the use of that particular character and then bringing that back as part of a like, hey, you kind of want to do good in the world, like here's this fucking thing, and like it. I was not really sure how they're going to use the Zori Bliss character,
yeah,
and I liked how they did it. I liked bringing her back towards the end. I liked the little exchange during the celebration that you know, Poe's like, huh? Yeah,
yeah,
and she's like, yeah, no.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, all right, maybe later. It's like, you know, he's kind of standing around, and then he ends up, you know, waiting for, you know, Finn and then Rey, and they get together for, you know,
big group hug.
the group hug that would be synonymous with what happened at the end of New Hope after the explosion of Death Star.
Yep. So I think overall, it's pretty obvious that the Resistance kind of fell into the hands of Poe and even Finn, and they even had that moment
General?
towards the end. Yeah, General. And I like that. I like how they kind of grew as characters. Especially, I think Finn finally got a reasonable storyline.
Right.
Not like
So I'm going to bring this up now just because it seems like the right spot to do it. This is where you talk about how Rian Johnson kind of shit on the character, and I really think that for parts of this that we think just kind of moved too fast, it was the like I need to speed the tape up so that we can get to a point where this part of this would make sense. You know what I mean?
Sure, yeah.
Like because Rian Johnson did nothing to advance the characters that would have made a decent story arc for the fucking finishing that would have made sense anyway.
Right.
I don't know what the fuck you would have done with those characters. Poe fucking would he kill himself? I mean, I think that's what Rian Johnson wanted.
Right.
I think that's what all the fucking femnazis out there would have wanted. Like, oh, you know what? We need to eliminate Poe. He's a machismo douchebag, and he needs to fucking go because they thoroughly enjoyed him getting fucking pissed on.
Yep.
You know, in the previous movie,
constantly emasculated by all the other women in the Resistance.
So and this is how good a job JJ did. In my mind, is there was a sequence between Finn and Poe where Finn's just like Poe is trying to make decisions, and you know, basically, I think Poe says, "I'm not the general,"
right?
And Finn's like, "Yeah, you're not."
Yeah,
and then fucking turn around, and walk away from him, and that's straight out of the book with the
Rise of the Resistance,
Rise of the Resistance book,
or Resistance Reborn.
There you go.
Yeah,
that book where you know Poe is basically called out for fucking making all those bad decisions with Holdo and all the other shit, and I think this was kind of a callback to that. It was like, yeah, you know what? you don't make the right decision all the fucking time. This is the decision that we should be making.
Yeah.
And then fucking going forward from there. So I thought that's the way. That's the way to do it. Like, yeah, the guy fucked up. He kind of had his mea culpa in the book. And then, but there's still just a little bit of like, yeah, you know, you're probably not ready for this fucking thing. You know, introduce Lando into that.
Oh, yeah.
Which we haven't even talked about fucking Lando, except for the fucking tank sequence.
Well, what would Lando talk about right now?
It's a dynamite taste. Dude, sidebar.
Yeah.
Rise of Skywalker sidebar. So, because it's not on the list here to talk about. The female stormtrooper, FN, whatever she was, right? That they run into on the, back on Endor. So, she... There's early in the sequence where they're talking about like where they're from, like when her and Finn are having that moment, and she says something about orange something. Like I can't remember exactly what it was, but she had mentioned something about like where she had come from or where the final battle was. It was like Orange Zone, something like that. I'm typing this out as I
like where their Star Destroyer went down or
something
whatever.
like that. And then so Lando, when her and Lando are having that exchange, and
at the very end,
and he says, and she's like, "Well, where are you from?" And he says something about orange. The orange thing comes back.
Oh, really?
Into that conversation. So I was curious if anybody else had picked up on that, like, and is there a correlation? Because the question is, like, is Lando just doing his thing? He's just macking on his
See,
broad?
and that's the thing. Like, I think that the intent of JJ was just for it to be completely innocent, just like him being like, "Hey, you know, let's try to find out where you are."
Right.
But probably because of the way Billy D played it, it's like, this old man's looking to get it in on this 26-year-old. So
it's a dynamite taste.
yeah, so it just came off super creepy.
I don't know that it came off creepy. I think that it was like Lando is now in this weird. We leave Lando. God, there's so much to this fucking movie that we're going to have to re-engage on this.
This is not the last time we're going to talk about this movie on the show, for sure.
But, you know, when Lando is talking about how him and Luke were on that planet looking for the fucking finders, whatever.
Yeah.
And, like, that's why he was still there, because he like, whatever had happened. So Lando, I think, was kind of lost in adrift again.
Yeah.
And then he starts talking to this girl, and I think there's a correlation there. I think there's some connection underlying in the story that we're meant to pick up on, where either they're from the same planet or they're like, maybe he fathered her out of one of his fucking trysts across the fucking galaxy.
Right.
And I was like, I was wearing my orange cape for that one, so I'll call that the Orange Zone.
Right.
You know, it's like some shit like that, whatever. But I'm curious to see how that plays out, because I do think there was a connection between them, not just because they're both African American. That's fucking bullshit.
Right.
But the fact, or I don't know if she might not be African American, but whatever. Like,
she's not American. She's got a thick British accent.
She's got a British accent, so whatever. Regardless of all that.
Let's go get some tea and crumpets.
Oh, can we do it? I do think that there's connection there. I like bringing Lando back in for the conclusion of this. Lando was a huge character in the expanded universe.
Yeah.
If you remember, he was the guy who he was the arms dealer that fucking built the weapons to defeat the Yuzong Vong and do all this shit. So,
and he had a really good speech to Poe too.
Yeah.
Like, as Poe was like kind of down in the dumps.
Exactly. That's what made me start thinking about this when we were talking about Poe.
Yeah. So he had a really good bit of dialogue with Poe to kind of like tell him like,
none of us were ready for this shit.
Yeah.
You know, like Poe's talking to Leia's dead body. Weird, but okay.
But yeah, and Lando's like, basically, we had each other, you know? You fucking lean on your friends, you do it together, fucking, you're good. And yeah, that was a really good sequence. And ultimately, again, to get back to my point, I think Finn and Poe had a really good story arc. The whole thing with Finn wanting to tell Rey a secret, I think the cheap out for that is like that he has feelings for her. But what a lot of people are saying is that he was force sensitive.
So that was in the chat.
Yeah.
Big Sweet had brought it up. I don't know if anybody else had.
Well, they alluded to it throughout the movie too, where he had feelings about things that were going on, where he had some, like, it wasn't like strong force power, but enough to where he could sense certain things.
He could sense that it was Rey in the starship, or it's either he's got Force abilities or he's Sherlock Holmes. I don't know, but apparently what they're saying in the chat is that there's articles out there where JJ comes out and freely says that that's what the secret was.
I've seen those. Those are from all of the clickbaity websites, and if you read those articles, he is not quoted anywhere on video as saying that. They're saying they overheard him say it to other fans during Q&A sessions.
Yeah.
So take that with a grain of salt that JJ actually confirmed it, but
exactly.
It does kind of make sense.
And that's what I said in the chat. I said, prove it.
Yeah.
Because I think that's the easy out. Honestly. I think that's the easy out, is that he's Force sensitive, and that's why he has... Because that would explain some of the things in Force Awakens, where that's where initially people were saying, well, Finn must be Force sensitive.
Yeah.
And I guess it's not completely unheard of. You know, maybe you go down a part of the story arc that says, like, a lot of these stormtroopers or these First Order troopers that rebel against trying to kill innocents, right? Because the same common theme between Finn and what's her name? Somebody tell me what her name is.
Yeah, I can't remember her name. But yeah, they had that conversation where he's like, it was a feeling, you know, that that doing that was wrong or whatever. So yeah, and then he talked about having a feeling that, like, the fucking radar was on this fucking certain Star Destroyer and not the ground tower thing.
Yeah.
So,
but and I look. And there's discussion in the chat, and believe me, we'll talk about this a lot more upon further viewings and see what shit comes out there. But definitively, you're only left to assume that maybe Finn could be Force sensitive, just like in Force Awakens. There's nothing definitive.
No.
There's
and
nothing
I think
definitive.
that was intentional.
I agree, and everyone wants to say definitively that Finn is Force sensitive. Cool, but prove it. I'm not. It wasn't proven to me.
No.
Like. But I can see where people are getting that from. But there's no smoking gun there.
No.
And that's fine.
And there doesn't have to be. That's
there doesn't have to be. It wasn't like he fucking... I still don't believe that, why could fucking Finn use a lightsaber? Because after Force Awakens, we were trying to explain all this shit, right?
Yeah, like you pick it up, and you push the button.
And it turns on.
Yeah, and then you can swing it. At your leisure, which
is what happened. That doesn't validate that he's Force sensitive.
Right.
Like there's a much longer conversation to be had about that. But I'm not just taking that as I'm just not accepting that as Finn's Force sensitive. Yeah, so was the kid with the fucking broom at the end of Last Jedi. Like there's lots of Force sensitive people. I get that.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely no smoking gun for me.
Right. So. I mean, there is still so much we could talk about, but you came in here, you were immediately talking about the score before we ever started streaming today.
Oh, yeah.
So what do you have as far as the score goes? Because I haven't listened to it just, like, isolated by itself. I've only heard it in the context of the movie.
This, I think I've listened to it through its entirety at least once since we've seen the movie. I think this is his best work. I think when you listen to the soundtrack, and I believe that I forget how many tracks there are. I don't want to lie. But listening to it, and yes, there's elements of the original trilogy score. I love the parts, and that make it, that gives you that little bit of extra. But some of the originality in some of this music, like there's little hints of elements of all of what makes John Williams so good. And I from a score standpoint, I think this is his best one. I just do. And maybe I'm a little bit biased because I really feel like this is going to be the last one.
Well, yeah, and he's even said.
Yeah.
He said himself, like, I'm not doing any more Star Wars after this.
And he went out with a flourish that was perfect for Star Wars. Yeah. It was the kind of flourish in the score that made Star Wars so good. You know, where it made A New Hope, the score from that made that movie. When we've talked about it ad nauseum, where without the score, without John Williams and Star Wars, we're not sitting here today.
Yeah,
you know, it's not the same fucking movie. I mean, we could still be listening to it, or we could still be watching it, but we'd be like, oh my god, we'd be so fucking dweeby that it's like there's no fucking way that there'd be toy lines and shit developed after it.
You're saying John Williams is what made Star Wars cool. Like, if it wasn't for John Williams, it would be not nearly as cool.
Also, yes. I mean, I think John Williams. It's the blood that makes Star Wars go. Is the John Williams score, and this movie just emphasized the fact that the issues I have with some of the other Star Wars movies, like with Rogue One, with Solo, that John Williams wasn't in it, and I think at its core, that's why I feel differently about it. And like going into it with that mentality, but I feel differently about the movie because it just doesn't resonate with me the same way.
Sure.
Like I can listen to the score of this. It is amazing, amazing classical music, full orchestration. You know, with the chorus in this movie, like you had similar to Phantom Menace. Like the score for Phantom Menace was fucking phenomenal.
Yep.
One of the best, and we've talked about it. But I think this one, when we get to a point where we can put all of these things together and start talking about them like as a group, as the Skywalker Saga group,
yes,
then we can talk about who, where it falls in the best. But it is worth buying if you enjoy listening to classical music, and if you're like me and you can see the scenes in the movie based on what you're listening to, then I think this is his best.
Yeah, and I don't dispute that. I have to see the movie again, and I have to listen to the soundtrack isolated by itself. But yeah, I'm sure it's fucking brilliant as always.
There's one track, I think it's the throne room. It's like advancing to the throne room or something like that, where it's like that build into like getting to there, and then it's only a few like maybe 15 seconds at the end where you get the and it's like, oh my god, that was awesome. It's just it's so good. It's so good.
I did see also apparently they do a new version of Kylo Ren's theme after he becomes Ben again, as he is fighting the Knights of Ren, I think.
Yeah, I forget what that was called.
I haven't caught that yet, but apparently, yeah, it's a redone version, like a light side version of the Kylo Ren theme, which sounds cool.
So it's very, very good.
Yep.
I highly recommend it.
I think this is probably a good closing point for us. Again, we could probably talk for another 3 hours on this movie, and I'm sure we will cover it at length again over the next few weeks. But I think that's enough of our initial impressions. I think overall we both thoroughly enjoyed it. We both highly recommend it for the real Star Wars fans. For me, I don't have a final rating yet. Like if I had to grade this on a 1 to 10 scale,
I can't yet either.
Yeah, I'd probably put it somewhere between a 7 and a 9, but I don't know exactly where it would fall yet. But
Approaching the Throne is the track.
Okay.
Thank you, Scott.
Yes. And I mean, again, this movie was made for us. They did this for the fans. Whether or not everything that they did came off, perfect is one thing.
Yeah.
But there is no doubt that they were catering to our generation, the people who fucking made this franchise what it is, and for better or worse, this movie is ours. And I know there's a lot of people out there that are fucking dogging it. Well, fuck those people.
And look, I want you can not like this movie for whatever reason. Like I am a firm believer of when you walk out of the theater and that initial impression, it's good. That's what you're like. It's that first bite of something, It's like, okay, no, this gets better if you eat it more, like, or you just get used to it. Yeah. And I think that's what happened with Last Jedi. It was like, yeah, I just got used to it. However you look at it, I left this movie content. I left this movie happy.
Yep.
I didn't, except from losing the board bet, but whatever. I'll make sure I win the next one.
Right.
But I was so upbeat and just so happy, and let's face it, for something that I was prepared to be like, I'm going to be upset because this is the end. I was expecting it to be like, and like when the curtain fell, like, wow, this is the last that I'm going to see. But we don't live in that world right now. Yeah. The movie itself left things open. Yeah. Not everyone's not dead. Yeah. It's not. They didn't Rogue One it. Mm-hmm. They didn't fucking Rogue One where So there's possibilities. The last of the Skywalker bloodline is dead,
Right.
but that doesn't mean that these characters couldn't go on and do something else.
Mm-hmm.
Disney's already told us that they're probably, I think they're going to start moving away from the trilogies, which I think makes sense. I was reading articles about how, from a storytelling perspective, making a trilogy kind of handcuffs you as to what you're doing.
Sure. But I mean, I don't like the idea of doing a one-off either. So like, if they feel like they can tell a story in either 2 or 4 movies, do that. You know?
Yeah, but it doesn't have to be like. I think that you can go towards a more normal, air quote, storytelling where it's like, here's this one which could potentially lead to another one which could.
Well, yeah, because then you're dealing with the
now
whole,
you
like,
have Rocky
cinematic...
8.
Well, no, I'm thinking more. You're more dealing with like a cinematic universe at this point, kind of like what Marvel does. It's a billion fucking individual stories, but there's like one overarching storyline going on in the background, and then they all kind of come together for one movie, and then they all diverge again, and then they can come back for another movie.
And this is something that I think time is going to tell, but I don't necessarily have a problem with that. I like
if it's done right, then yeah.
Oh, of course. I mean, you could say that with anything.
Yeah.
And as somebody who really could give a shit about the Marvel stuff, because
Right.
I think there's too much of it.
Yeah.
Like the fucking Black Widow thing that's coming out. Like, oh, great. Who the fuck cares?
Right, because
like,
she's already fucking dead. Like, spoiler alert, she died in fucking Endgame. So...
She didn't come back? She's not one of the people that came
she was
back?
fucking dead. This is a prequel movie.
Oh, she was dead.
Yeah. Yeah, she's like fucking gone. So
Perfect.
like...
I don't really give a shit about that, but I like, again, initial impressions coming out of the theater and being happy that it wasn't. I didn't feel like this was the last. I didn't have that sadness that I expected.
Yeah.
I expected to be sad because this was it. I was happy because it ended in a way that I thought was done well.
So what's going to happen now is we're going to get, a couple hundred novels that take place after this. That's like as Ray and Finn and Poe all get old, right?
Uh-huh.
And then Google is going to buy Disney, right?
And then shit can all of it.
They're going to shit can all the expanded universe material. And then they're going to be like, we're making a new trilogy,
Oh, God. Well, hey, look, if they're going to come out with all these novels, then we'll buy them.
Oh, I'm sure we will.
We'll buy them and we'll talk about them. Because
Mm-hmm.
that's what we do. Because, like you said before, ever so eloquently, we're real fucking Star Wars fans.
Yeah.
And it's this was the little cherry on the top of waiting for this, and I'm so happy that I'm happy.
Yeah, I said this when The Mandalorian started, and it's only reinforced now. It is a good time to be a Star Wars fan.
It is a good time. Speaking of Mandalorian, next week.
So we're going to wrap up season 1 of The Mandalorian. We're going to talk about the final 2 episodes.
Right.
And we are more than likely going to have an in-studio guest. If that falls...
It looks like he confirmed today. So
if that does fall through between now and then for whatever reason, we will attempt to do a remote guest, as we've been promising for a while. Otherwise, be ready for that next week. And then I would imagine we're going to have to do another full episode dedicated to Rise of Skywalker after we see it like a third and fourth time.
Agreed.
And then kind of like, all right, everything that we missed, let's expand upon some of the stuff that we did talk about. But there's no fucking way that you can wrap up everything in this movie in one episode.
For sure.
So
for sure.
Keep an ear open for that. And again, if you want to support us, check out patreon.com/ATSW podcast. And anything else?
Go Birds.
Go Birds, yeah.
Beat those stinking ass cowgirls.
Yeah, which is why we're recording so early in the day today.
Yes, it is.
Dave's got to go get to his game in the next half hour. So. All right, well, good luck to the Eagles. And everybody out there, I hope you enjoyed Rise of Skywalker as much as we did. And until next time, may the Force be with you, and may the Force be with you.
May the Force be with you. Okay, now what do I click? That was a little too high.
It's always different every week, too. Yeah. Like, you were consistent for a long time, and now all of a sudden, like, you're...
Yeah, well, my voice is already, like, jacked up. I didn't do my fucking pre-recording exercises, like, for my vocal cords.
Oh.
Yeah, I usually do it in a car.
And what does your vocal doctor think about the fact that you do a podcast where you sit and just talk for 2 hours? And sometimes yell?
That it's problematic, and that's why I have issues. Like, and I have that swallowing bit, but yeah, whatever. So for those that are still with us, Jason, Niners game against Seattle has been moved to Sunday Night Football next week. Nice.
Sunday Night Football on in Berkshire.
So that means you get to listen to Chris Collingsworth and his dumb ass.
I'm Chris.
Fucking loser.
This is
So
a throwback to SNL from several years ago.
So we have a couple more to add to the collection. I don't know if you're looking behind us for those who are. Yeah.
We're adding more and more shelves.
Yes. Yeah. Big Swede, yeah, we'll talk at work and you will see my point of view. Okay. I might see it. That doesn't mean I fucking have to agree with it.
What's his point of view?
Oh, I don't know. Oh, Finn being force sensitive.
Again, they hinted at it, but there was no, like, silver bullet that just, you know, I made it like, oh, that's for sure, the fact that he's force sensitive.
Yeah, it's whatever. I don't need him to be force sensitive. I really don't. It doesn't affect me one way or the other.
Yeah. And really, it doesn't matter in the overall story, like, because it's over. So it's.
Right.
I mean, I guess if they do any more further expanded universe stuff and they pick up the story after this in the books, then maybe it can be a factor. But for now, it's kind of irrelevant.
All right. So there's some. Is that the last guy? Is there how many Knights of Ren are there?
6.
There's 6?
I want to say, yeah.
Shit.
Help us out in the chat. How many Knights of Ren are there?
Somebody go into their pop. How you doing? App.
Knights of Ren.
I got to get some kind of order going in this because I'm really yeah, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen before I leave. Because if I go home right now, it's just.
So forget the game. We'd have to do some research, but
There's gotta in the chat, Nick. How many fucking Knights of Ren are there? So you go one that way, like start with one at the top. You think?
what are we talking about?
Like where's the first number that I have?
Are you seriously about to try to number order these fucking things?
I'm about to, yeah. It'll only take me a minute. You come, you go.
I can't believe this is happening right now.
This is happening right now, dude.
We've got fucking how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We've got like seriously like 70 fucking pop figures, and he's about to try to put them in number fucking order, as opposed to like grouping them like instead of like.
Well, listen, it's impossible to fucking group them to a point where Nick's looking. By the way,
Jesus Christ,
this is happening. Just bear down.
What was the what did fucking
It's a dynamite thing.
no in the Family Guy when he took him to his niece's recital?
Oh,
What did he say?
this is happening. Just fuck.
All right. Well, while Dave's doing that,
Bop it to start. High score, 69.
oh yeah.
Bop it. Twist it. Pull it. Pull it. Twist it. Twist it. Twist it. Bop it. Bop it. Pull it. Bop it. Twist it. Twist it. Bop it. Bop it.
There's 6, and they actually have names.
Twist it.
What are their actual names?
Bop it.
They're not Blaster Rifle and War Club.
Twist it. Bop it. Twist it. Pull it. Twist it. Bop it.
Ah, I pulled. Damn it.
It up, Buzzball. Score, 27.
Oh, it was only 27? I'm like sitting here.
27?
I'm sitting here thinking like, oh man, am I gonna break the 69?
Nope. You
Clearly not.
You surely are not. Wow.
Nothing.
Did you break it?
No. Taking it out of the package.
Bomb it to start.
This
Maybe
is
we should give it a rest.
this is extraordinarily difficult.
Yeah, you think? Which is why I would have advised against it.
It's annoying. I want them to be like I have number 1 and number 3. Is it this way? 1.
Oh, you know what we've never talked about on the pod?
What's that?
Hardware Wars.
Fact.
Talk about that one of these days.
So we also didn't talk about how many fucking awesome pops are going to come out of this, right?
Oh my god, yeah.
I want. Here's the pops I want, and the top 3 pops I want to see come out of this movie.
Mm-hmm.
I want Rey in fucking Red 5's helmet.
Right.
I want.
Which that was pretty awesome, by the way.
Yeah, I want the fucking the little fucking guy the one that reprograms 3PO.
Oh, Dio.
No, that's the droid. That's like my new favorite droid.
Oh, the little guy.
Like Earth's.
Hey!
Yay!
That guy. I fucking love that guy.
Yes.
Yeah, when he came back to at the end, we didn't even talk about when all the fucking ships showed up.
Yeah.
That's the other time I almost fucking cried the second time. That was so good.
Yeah,
So fucking good.
I was. You kind of almost knew it was going to happen, but still,
Oh, sure.
it still hit me.
Oh, yeah.
It still hit me as just something amazing, I guess.
And then when the little guy shows up again, like, hey!
Hey! I love it. Yeah. That was like the little guy, like with Dio, like Dio being
Dio
like,
was great too.
like, no thank you, no thank
Yeah.
you, no touch, no thank you.
And that was kind of a weird thing. Like I'm sitting here thinking, like, were they trying to go with some kind of message there, some like kind of social message? Because
Who the
like,
fuck knows?
well, because Ray even alluded to the fact that he was probably abused,
Right.
like by his previous owner. So
Oh,
I'm
no,
like,
thank you.
Where are they going with this? Like, this is it's a very weird thing that they're doing with him.
Yeah.
He was cute. Like I enjoyed Dio.
Oh my god, I just like the it was a good vessel for getting to the like, well, shit, we don't have the, we have this, or like, oh, this droid, he was fucking in the room when the guy who hijacked fucking Rey, the guy whose job it was to hijack Rey as a child,
Yep.
right, and dump him on this other planet. And that whole fucking story arc I thought was really good.
Mm-hmm.
Finding the same ship, because you saw that ship, was like, that's the ship.
Yeah.
That's the fucking ship.
Yeah.
Why
and
it
then-
took her so long to fucking figure it out is beyond me.
Yeah,
But
she's like, wait a minute, I know that ship. Babu Frick.
Babu,
That dude was
Babu,
the
that's
best.
that's a pop. I think we're gonna need to get the Dio pop too, just because fucking he's my spirit animal.
Yeah.
I
I saw you posted that on like Twitter. Oh no, you changed your name to that on
Yeah.
Twitter.
Yeah, I changed it from Jim Schwartz should be fired to
Yeah. Which just goes to show I'm on Twitter. I'm using it. I'm not doing it for politics. Fuck that. Like.
yeah,
it's-
no. I'm doing it solely to. Most of my shit is to rant about the fucking Philadelphia sports teams.
I'm mostly doing it to follow Magic the Gathering stuff.
Yeah.
So, I'm staying out of fucking politics. I'm done with that shit.
Twitter still has some relevance in the world.
Barely, but
It's a Facebook joint.
Yeah.
Facebook owns Twitter.
no, they own Instagram.
I think they own Twitter too. No, you know what? Twitter's its own privately traded
Yeah.
thing.
So is that it? Is it in number order?
No, fuck no.
You gave up.
So I just took a picture, and I'm going to. What I'll do is I'll take graph paper and I'll just do the numbers that I have. What?
And then just plot it.
Yeah. It's not weird, right?
This fucking guy. Oh my god. Oh, this is good shit.
They're so awesome. God, they make me so happy.
Yeah.
It's fucking sick. It's a sickness.
See, I need more Black Series figures to compete because I can't let him just like take over the whole fucking wall in my man cave.
This is happening, Jason.
So...
Just don't even worry about it.
All right. Well, should we end the stream?
We should. I gotta go home and watch the Eagles beat up on some Cowgirls.
Yep.
I hope. I pray.
I'm going to attempt to push this out tonight, so we can.
That's what she said.
Maybe. To kind of capitalize on the hype and everything. So,
Mm-hmm.
which, by the way, we did get a bit of a bump from my Sofa King appearances. So,
Awesome.
Yeah, we got a little bit of a download bump, so that's good.
Nice.
So, all right.
Like us, share us,
yes,
bop it.
Yeah. Yeah, please give it a like, everybody, and again,
Tell your
share us out
friends.
there, and we'll see y'all soon.
Yep. Yeah, that's it. Go Birds. Peace.